और बता क्या हालचाल
ओह, बस तंग आ गया हूँ।
है।
Actually, uh, went to this lab meeting. इस सेमेस्टर की पहली lab meeting थी। वहाँ पर they were doing this thing where they were going in a circle, taking turns talking about what they've been up to. In the winter, they were supposed to give talk about one academic thing and one non-academic thing. So Miss, I was one of the last उस circle में. I'm not even a part of the lab. I'm just क्योंकि the professor is on a paternity leave right now, so I cannot really join the lab before he's back. He's just casually doing lab meetings. तो मैं यहाँ सुन रहा हूँ लोगों को इंटरेस्टिंग इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें कर रहे हैं academically. I have nothing to say. उनके नॉन एकेडमिक एंडेवर्स भी इंटरेस्टिंग थे ड्यूरिंग देयर विंटर्स. uh, uh, this like Super Bowl happened अभी कुछ टाइम पहले, which seems to be really important to people, and just I think it has the same importance IPL I think used to have पहले.
नहीं नहीं, अभी जैसे एक दो दिन पहले मैच हुआ वो क्रिकेट का विच वाज नॉट इन अ वर्ल्ड कप। वो ऐसे नॉर्मल कोई चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी टाइप की थी, बट वो सब देख रहे थे उसको पूरे। हमारे घर पे पूरे टीवी पे लगा के सारे जन देख रहे
नहीं, मैं
थे।
मतलब उससे वो था कि लाइक कंट्री में सारे अलग अलग रीजन्स compete करते हैं कंट्री के अंदर ही.
अच्छा, ऐसा। हाँ।
एंड द वैसे तो डेलावेयर की कोई टीम नहीं है, बट डेलावेयर के एडजेसेंट इज फिलाडेल्फिया, एंड a lot of people in Delaware are from Philadelphia, and Delaware in general identifies with Philadelphia, and वो टीम जीत गई, and everybody was really happy about it. This is American football we're talking about. हाँ, anyway, like there was काफी. I mean, there was even this instance कि मेरी क्लास चल रही थी उस टाइम. फ्राइडे को क्लास थी मेरी, संडे को या सैटरडे को वीकेंड में सुपर बोल था, ये आखिरी गेम था फिलाडेल्फिया और का. द प्रोफेसर मेरे there's this Italian professor of social linguistics. ही फ्राइडे को वो बोले कि मैं मंडे को क्लास होगी, बट ही विल नॉट टेक अटेंडेंस क्योंकि he understands if like like this is a huge weekend for people, and like you're either gonna be drunk on sadness or happiness. Either way, you, you
हाँ।
can take Monday off if you want to. Which was pretty cool. uh Anyway, some people are describing their Super Bowl experience, and uh I- फिर मेरी बारी आई. I have to talk about an academic thing पहले. ऐसे uh, there's nothing really interesting I've done academically. I've been doing academically recently. But I am planning to conduct this study. मैंने ऐसे बोल दिया एक जो प्रपोजल लिखा था मैंने पिछले सेमेस्टर से रिलेटेड and that's where I am at with that. उसके अलावा I said that I've been getting into board games over the winters. Their eyes lit up, and started asking me what's my favorite right now. I said, okay, if I have to pick one, for now it's Catan. I've been enjoying Catan a lot. Yeah, yeah, that's a classic. I was honestly kind of surprised by the how like the majority of people there were like had played, were aware of it, and
Mm,
I guess that's just a Western thing. Like people just tend to be more uh have more experience with casual experience with board games.
mm.
क्योंकि इंडिया में बोर्ड गेम्स के नाम पे like business I
सांप सीढ़ी और लूडो.
hated playing business बचपन में so I never played it. I think that's just a Monopoly का version and उस Jenga.
Jenga is can it be classified as a board game?
I mean, situation. I mean, yeah, it's a very different kind of tabletop game, but I would personally put it in that way. Like, yeah, it's a tabletop game. Uh, anyway, there's yeah. So and then they started talking about how they should have a have a game night. They can do a game night. Uh, I was sitting next to the professor, and he said to me, yeah, we can play Catan. I have the expansion pack.
Wow. uh,
Mm.
didn't हमने expansion pack देखा उसका and we shut it down because how complicated it was and how long it took to
I
go
think
through.
the we didn't really feel like getting into the tutorial was point, but because I think that's just been our state of mind recently. कि we don't feel like learning new games, इसलिए हमने कोई नए games खेले भी नहीं पिछले 2 हफ्तों में. I think we need to get out of that comfort zone because to be honest, the most appealing thing about board games is the sheer variety.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I just went to that one lab meeting. And, उसके अलावा I've not really been up to much. I'll tell you what media I've been consuming. I hate saying it like that. मगर तू बता, how were your 2 weeks? You went to the meditation center too.
Hmm. इस बार बट मैं अटेंड नहीं करने गया था. आई वाज देयर टू सर्व. यू नो जो 2-3
So,
सर्वर्स होते हैं.
oh, I didn't know that.
आई वाज सर्विंग इन दैट 3 डेज. हाउएवर जो 3 दिन का शिविर होता है उसमें सिर्फ जो एक बार एटलीस्ट एक बार 10 दिन का शिविर कर चुका होता है वही अलाउड होता है ओल्ड स्टूडेंट्स.
Hmm.
तो उसमें कोई नए स्टूडेंट्स नहीं आते हैं एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट तो ज़्यादा काम नहीं रहता कि जनरली जो सर्वर से तो ना काम होता है डिसिप्लिन मेंटेन करना या फिर कोई परेशान हो रहे हैं
छड़ी
तो
लेके
उसको
घूमना. आई
बेसिकली
रिमेम्बर
वो
मैं जब
मैं.
गया था वहाँ पे एक अंकल्स का झुंड बन गया था फ्रॉम जो चुपके से जाके बात करते थे. Felt so weird.
वही वो सबसे मतलब डिफिकल्ट काम होता है डिसिप्लिन मेंटेन करना. एंड क्योंकि ओल्ड स्टूडेंट्स का कोर्स था इसमें, इसलिए वो बड़ा इशू नहीं था। तो इट इट वाज मोस्टली जस्ट अ नॉर्मल कोर्स, बस बीच बीच में कुछ चीज़ अलग होती थी कि सुबह जल्दी उठना है मेरे को, और बेल रिंग करनी, जो छोटी वाली बेल होती है, सबको उठाना होता है, राइट?
फिर तू भी
या
मेडिटेशन ही
फिर
करता होगा ना सबके साथ, नहीं?
हाँ, और मेडिटेशन हॉल में कोई आया नहीं है तो फिर उनको आके बुला के लाना कि आओ टाइम हो गया मेडिटेशन, विच सरप्राइजिंगली काफ़ी ज़्यादा हुआ है। आई वॉज एक्सपेक्टिंग कि हाँ पुराने लोग हैं तो दे विल कम ऑन टाइम, बट अपेरेंटली नॉट। आराम से अपने से टहलते हुए आ रहे हैं, रूम में बैठे हुए वेटिंग फॉर द लास्ट मिनट की, हाँ आराम से आएंगे।
हम्म।
तो सही था।
What motivates you to, like, how do you make that decision that you want to volunteer for this?
Like, कैसे बताऊँ, इट्स लाइक गोइंग टू द जिम, कि इट फील्स लाइक एन एक्सरसाइज कि ठीक है, 3 दिन के अंदर जाके you attend the course and you feel better
नहीं
in
नहीं,
a
मैं
way.
कोर्स अटेंड करने की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, that I understand. I was talking about volunteering. Like, is it
Uh,
sort of a giving back thing you want to, like, it's meant so
I
much to you?
didn't really have that sentiment honestly. मैंने अभी तक volunteer करा नहीं था, so that's why I was like okay, let's give this a shot, just as as an experience thing.
Hmm. Was it an
But
interesting
I
thing?
guess हाँ, मेरे को हमेशा मेरे को बहुत वो लगा था, क्या एंशियस, एंजाइटी इंड्यूसिंग काम लगा मेरे को, कि आपको जो नए लोग आ रहे हो उनको मैनेज करना, आई मीन लोगों को इन जनरल उनसे कम्युनिकेट करना, मैनेज करना, मेरे को ऐसे सोशल काम वीकनेस लगते हैं सॉर्ट ऑफ मेरे खुद के, सो टू फोर्स माई सेल्फ इनटू दैट वर्क
Hmm.
इज गुड फॉर मी, आई गेस। ऐसे भी इन जनरल में ऐसे जो रजिस्ट्रेशन के दिन होता था, मैं जाता रहता हूँ ना सेंटर में,
Mm-hmm.
जस्ट टू एंगेज विद दिस काइंड ऑफ वर्क।
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Talking about your weaknesses, let's talk a little about Perudo before moving on from board games.
I I have some trauma with that game.
I mean,
इट्स नॉट लाइक कि कोई एक पर्टिकुलर इंसिडेंट हो, जब भी खेलता हूँ हर बार मैं वो गेम के बाद ऐसे डेवास्टेटेड हो जाता हूँ, व्हाट द हेल जस्ट हैपेंड।
it's a game of probability and bluffing. I would say it's more a game of probability than bluffing. What do you say?
आई मीन देयर कैन, उसमें कई सारे क्रूशियल मोमेंट्स में इंपॉर्टेंट होता है ब्लफ करना, बट यू कांट से कि हर गेम में ब्लफ करना क्रूशियल रहेगा। एट सम पॉइंट हो सकता है, अगर जैसे वन ऑन वन अगर चल रहा है देन इट्स बिकम्स अ बिग पार्ट ऑफ इट ब्लफिंग,
I
बट आई
feel
थिंक
that, हाँ,
मतलब जब मैं वही कहा था मल्टीपल लोग होते तो इट्स मोस्टली जस्ट प्रोबेबिलिटी एंड लिटिल बिट ऑफ कैलकुलेशन की,
I feel that it's
you know.
very similar to poker in its gameplay or style, but मैंने कभी इतना पोकर नहीं खेला, बस एक बार यश ने सिखाया है मुझे। I One thing that makes poker special, as opposed to something like Perudo, is that you bet actual money in it, and with that uh, addition with those stakes, when there are some stakes to it, and the bid you are raising is the money you have, that becomes a more interesting game of manipulation, I think.
हाँ, इसमें फिर सेंटिमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा जुड़ जाता है ना कि if you have your money involved, you would be more careful
Yeah.
as opposed to say अगर board games है, then you can just be जैसे वो सीक्रेट हिटलर में होता था कि सब एज अ वाइल्ड कार्ड खेलते थे, सब तो नहीं मतलब बहुत सारे जन इतना सीरियसली नहीं लेते थे, जनरली से कोई कॉन्सिक्वेंस भी नहीं होता था
Uh,
कि ओके yeah, just playing for fun, which is fine.
People
But
who did take Secret Hitler seriously, to be honest, I felt that they made the game less interesting. But like,
मेरी बात कर
I guess you are also included in that.
I
क्योंकि
was playing very seriously.
like you, it's a game where you take risks, have fun with people, tease people. That's when it's really fun. But and there's a very simple strategy to always have the advantage, which is just stay quiet, no matter what.
क्या take one?
Stay quiet, no matter what.
I don't think that would always be a good strategy. अभी
I
हम
mean,
लोग
look,
में it was working because of जो
there's
हमारी जैसी टीम थी, but I think if there is a bunch of experienced people, then they can take advantage of that
there's
if you are
this
staying quiet.
idea of playing that immediate game you are playing, and I feel that what sort of ruins a game like that is starting to believe in the idea that this how I behave in this game will also influence my next games. So I must maintain a neutral face, Hamesha.
Hmm. And I don't think that's a good strategy to maintain a neutral face, Hamisha. I think if you're more erratic, that might be better.
Like Vidhu.
Because I I did that. Do you remember जिसमें मैं हिटलर था? I was quite active in that game, and because of that, उसमें जो दो नई पार्टिसिपेंट्स आए थे, जो उनने ये कहा था कि this guy seems a lot active, so I trust him because of that. Remember that?
uh,
काफी टाइम हो गया है guys.
yeah.
But
तो एक ही बार हिटलर बना है. I remember that.
एक ही बार हुआ और उसकी सबसे डेवास्टेटिंग लॉस था उसमें कि she thought I was Varun.
That's actually one of my like most embarrassing yet sort of I mean I'm also like satisfied with how I handled that fuck up.
I was actually annoyed by that because as a Hitler, you don't want y- attention to you, right? Eh, If you are under suspicions, then people won't make a chance there. But immediately, game के starting में हम दोनों के बीच में conflict आ गया था,
Yeah,
which totally ruined that.
I think what might have seemed like a advantage in the beginning for you that turned out to be a disadvantage. Okay, I immediately knew that you were Hitler.
हाँ, but ठीक है, मैं सोचा कि ठीक है जैसा भी हो रहा है उसमें we can use that as we can, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Did you do anything else? पिछले दोस्तों में?
I want to talk about something.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on speed breakers?
Speed breakers. Uh, I mean, they're I guess necessary in some places, but there are a lot of like speed breakers in weird spots जहाँ पे होने नहीं चाहिए and of weird sizes.
I am not talking about weird size or weird places. I will tell you something. Speed breakers are a good concept in theory,
Hmm.
but it does not work in India.
Why?
That is because जहाँ पे भी तो स्पीड ब्रेकर देखेगा इंडिया में, दे आर, पहली बात तो बहुत पुअरली मेड होता है, उनका मटेरियल सही नहीं होता, एंड मतलब कई कई जगह से थोड़े ज्यादा ऊंचे रहेंगे, कहीं से थोड़ा टूटे हुए रहेंगे, एंड और वो पूरा रोड कवर भी नहीं करेंगे, तो देखेगा उसके एजेस पे वो थोड़े जाके एक जगह उनको रुकना ही पड़ता है उनके स्पीड ब्रेकर्स पर, जहाँ पे वो खत्म हो जाते हैं और रोड खत्म नहीं होती है। वॉट दैट लीड्स टू, इंडिया में मोस्टली कार से ज्यादा बाइक चलाते हैं लोग, या टू व्हीलर चलाते हैं इन जनरल, एटलीस्ट इन द सिटी, राइट। और फिर अगर जो टू व्हीलर पे चल रहा है पर्सन, he does not want to slow down on that speed breaker. So what he does is, वो छोटा सा गैप या तो जो बाजू से है या तो बीच में तो एक टूटा हुआ है, वो ट्राई टू नजल इट, उसका जो टू व्हीलर वो छोटे से गैप से लेके जाने की कोशिश करेगा, एंड इट मेक्स इट मोर डेंजरस देन इफ देयर वाज नो स्पीड ब्रेकर। ये मेरे साथ मल्टीपल टाइम्स मैं एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा हूँ कि जैसे मैं कॉलोनी से बाहर निकलता हूँ, क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक इंटरसेक्शन है कि हमारे कॉलोनी के निकलने वाला एक टर्निंग है, तो वहां से कोई गाड़ी आ रही है तो इट शुड नेचुरली स्लो डाउन, राइट, कि यहाँ से कॉलोनी है, यहाँ से कॉलोनी से गाड़ियाँ निकलती है, तो उधर से कोई गाड़ी आ रही है तो वो दोनों क्लैश ना करे, तो वहाँ पे स्पीड ब्रेकर है। बट वो स्पीड ब्रेकर का जो एज है वो शॉर्ट है, तो लोग क्या करते हैं, वो स्पीड ब्रेकर के एज के ऐसे स्वर्ल करते हुए डालते हैं, एंड व्हाट दैट डज इज कि वो और ज्यादा स्पीड से और बहुत ज्यादा क्लोजर आ जाते हैं इसके टर्निंग पे। पहली बात वो स्लो डाउन भी नहीं हुआ है, और दूसरी बात वो एकदम जहाँ पे कॉलोनी या के का इंटरसेक्शन मिल रहा है एकदम उस जगह से लेके जाते हैं, एंड क्योंकि वो क्लोज है इसलिए वो देख भी नहीं पाते कि कॉलोनी के साइड से कोई आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रही कोई गाड़ी। और ऐसा मल्टीपल टाइम्स हो चुका है, मैं देखा हूँ कि वो ऑलमोस्ट वहां से आके भले मैं खुद स्लो डाउन हो जाऊं इस एंटिसिपेशन से, वो स्पीड ब्रेकर डॉज करता है, तब भी ऑलमोस्ट आके मेरे भिड़ जाता है वो वहां से।
भिड़ चुके हैं।
भिड़े नहीं है, ऑलमोस्ट भिड़ गए, मैं रेडी वहां पे अपनी गाड़ियां के रोक देता हूँ टर्निंग पर हर बार, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि कोई गाड़ी उधर से नहीं आ रही है।
I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. That behavior seems a little weird to me too. Of dodging speed breakers like that. Uh, there's also this thing that I don't think I've seen any speed breakers यहाँ पर. I
हाँ,
wonder why. I really do. Um, maybe as like we, yeah, like really do not um, know why. क्योंकि recently, I guess like and I wouldn't say यहाँ पे भी हर जगह वो स्पीड डिटेक्ट करने वाले कैमरास होते हैं। आई वुड इमेजिन कि इंडिया में वो लगने लगे हैं, तो आई गेस इन प्लेसेस स्पीड ब्रेकर्स कम हो जाएंगे, बट आई मीन स्टिल वो नेबरहुड्स में थोड़ी होंगे। नेबरहुड्स में होते हैं सबसे ज्यादा स्पीड ब्रेकर्स। और uh, it also made me, you talking about it also made me think about the idea कि you are so sure that these people are not going to follow the rules, that you have to make physical obstruction to not let them break those rules, which honestly sounds very uh weird in the sense that it almost feels like it reinforces it in a wrong way, क्योंकि okay, I'll give you an example. जब मैं छोटा था, मुझे uh, you know, you should wash your hands after peeing, and uh, मुझे पेरेंट्स हमेशा बोलते थे कि तू हाथ धो अपने and like it sort of gave me the wrong sense कि the only reason I'm washing my hands is to satisfy my parents, not because I should wash hands. So whenever I could get away with it, like without washing hands, नहीं धोता था. I feel
एक दो
that's
लिसनर जो भी थे वो जा चुके
है.
हैं। एक दो लिसनर भी जो सुन रहे होंगे वो जा चुके होंगे आई गेस।
अरे तब मैं छोटा था, बहुत छोटा था. I mean, that was early teens. Uh, मगर yeah, like uh, I see that attitude about a lot of things कि people do stuff क्योंकि they don't want to face the consequences or like be caught not doing that because that's how they've been taught to follow the rules. Okay, as long as you can get away with it, it's fine. Nobody's going to say anything, and that's all that matters. Whether somebody is saying something to you or not. Like रूम साफ करना बस इसलिए करना क्योंकि आज मम्मी आ रही है, देखेंगी तो. uh, you get the idea, right? I wonder if like speed breakers in a similar fashion convey the wrong idea, reinforce the wrong idea that as long as there are you don't have to, as long as you can get away with it, it's okay.
वो ट्रैफिक लाइट्स के साथ भी होता है राइट, ये इंडिया में बहुत स्ट्रिक्टली फॉलो नहीं करता स्पेशली ट्रैफिक लाइट्स को। हम उस पे रेड
Yeah.
लाइट है उसमें निकलेंगे एंड दे विल इफ यू सी देम जो रेड लाइट पे निकल जाता है आगे, दे
Hmm.
स्पीड अप एज अपोज टू स्लोइंग डाउन बिकॉज दे हैव अ सेंस कि अगर वो रेड लाइट पे निकला देन दे शुड not linger around too long,
Hmm.
breaking that rule. So instead of slowing down, which was the purpose of putting a red light, they speed up.
um yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this really nice quote for from Twin Peaks. उसके first episode में, wait, I'm looking for it. 2 minutes. Uh, that like this guy is really charmed by this small town. They're on a stakeout. He's on a stakeout with a local police officer. He's an FBI agent, and like he really loves the small town vibes of this place. And he says, "Yeah, that's what you do in a town where a yellow light still means slow down, not speed up."
तू बताया था आई थिंक कोई पिछले पॉडकास्ट में।
It's possible. I really like that quote. Hmm.
I think you were talking about Gwalior when you told me this thing.
Gwalior. Hmm.
Gwalior or some other town you were at which you really liked.
Gwalior. Actually, I don't think I liked Gwalior.
It might be some other town.
Hmm. Possibly, possibly. Uh, is that it? Do you have anything else about speed breakers?
That was it.
What's headliners?
That's a video game I
Okay,
watched.
okay.
But
यहाँ पे headliners, a game about digging a hole, GTFO, Balatro और Genshin. मुझे इनमें से ये बता कि इसमें से तूने खेले कौन से, देखे कौन से, पहले ये बता दे मुझे.
बलाट और गेंशिन बाकी
Okay,
सारे देखे.
okay, go on.
Hmm. तो headliners is somewhat similar to Lethal Company.
हाँ,
लेथल कंपनी में क्या होता था कि हम एक लोकेशन पे जाते थे, सामान कलेक्ट करके आपके शिप में रखना था, राइट. बट हेडलाइनर्स पे यू आर न्यूज रिपोर्टर्स. चार की स्क्वाड होता तुम्हारा, 4 लोग था, एंड यू आर न्यूज रिपोर्टर्स. और हमारे कंट्री पे एलियन इन्वेजन हुआ होता है, सो वी मस्ट गेट हेडलाइंस. लाइक वी शुड, हमको हमारे पास एक कैमरा होता है, वी कैन क्लिक फोटोज, and the more action is happening in that photo, the more points we get. It's a really interesting concept. इसको समझाने में थोड़ा
Wait,
डिफिकल्ट
like,
रहेगा.
can you describe, like, how are you clicking the pictures?
जैसे कैमरे से खींचता है उसमें ऐसे चल रहा है सब कुछ नॉर्मल. एलियन इन्वेजन चल रहा है, राइट. इन्वेजन चल रहा है. यू हैव टू
Uh-huh.
गेट क्लोज टू द एलियंस, एंड you can either like you can take a selfie or like ऐसे नॉर्मल फोटो खींचो. एंड लाइक इट जैसे लेथल कंपनी मॉन्स्टर तुम्हें मार सकते हैं ना, वैसे एलियंस तुम्हें मार सकते हैं. So you have to make sure that you don't die, but at the same time you have to be brave and get close to them to get uh, photos. And well, ऐसा नहीं कि तो सिर्फ एलियन की फोटो लेना है. इफ यू कैन लाइक फ्रेम इट इंटेंशनली कि कोई आदमी मर रहा हो और कोई एक्सप्लोजन हो रहा हो, और अगर ऐसी मल्टीपल चीजें एक साथ हो रही तो इट गेट्स मल्टीप्लाइड. वो सब एक दूसरे से मतलब मल्टीप्लायर बढ़ते रहता है. तो एक एक सिंगल फोटो में जितनी सारी डिफरेंट चीजें एक साथ हो जाएगी, द मोर पॉइंट यू गेट.
I'm
सो
getting
यू
a
हैव टू
weird
टाइम इट.
s- sense of deja vu. Okay, I've played a game like this अपने बचपन में, like a Spider-Man game or something. क्योंकि
स्पाइडरमैन में होता है ना ऐसा कुछ कि अच्छा हाँ वही पीटर पार्कर खुद ही तो एक न्यूज रिपोर्टर होता है, राइट.
yes,
कि
he's a photographer for a newspaper, and I mean movies में there's some scene कि sure उसे जितना अच्छी pictures खींचेगा उतने पैसे मिलेंगे, but I feel like I've also played a game जिसमें you need to click ज्यादा एक्शन वाली पिक्चर्स, जितना एक्शन हो रहा होगा उसमें उतना होगा.
एक वो
एंड
एक और वीडियो गेम था वो, कुछ वीडियो इसमें वीडियो बनाना आपको दूसरे गेम में. आई डोंट रिमेम्बर इट्स नेम, बट हाँ वो भी थोड़ा सिमिलर था इसके. ये
anyway,
सारे जितने भी गेम आ रहे हैं सब लिथल कंपनी से स्टेम हो रहा है.
is it online?
यस, मतलब वैसे ही जैसे लिथल कंपनी होता है वैसे सेंस में कि यू play with a bunch of friends, and like you can even make जैसे कि कोई तुम्हारा फ्रेंड के पीछे एलियन, वो इंटेंशनली एलियन को लिवर करेगा, एंड एज द एलियन अटैक्स हिम you try to take a photo, and it's really good. I don't know how expensive
Yeah,
it is, but we can look into it. Yes.
yeah,
It looked really good.
it like uh while I feel that it's getting a little too much games like this after Lethal Company, but it's still, I guess, a little refreshing after the uh, years of battle royale we lived through.
Hmm.
Or
And इसके if you search it on Google
huh,
and look at images, इनमें काफी cool aliens बना है. लाइक पूरे फुल ऑन गॉडजिला है और जाइंट्स है, मतलब टाइटन्स टाइप के हैं इसमें।
Oh,
यस, और बहुत एक्चुअली मतलब कूल विजुअल्स और सब होता है इसमें, सिनेरियोज होते हैं।
I mean, the game is pretty cheap, to be honest. Uh, but I don't think that after Phasmophobia and Lethal Company, I don't think I have a desire to play more games like this.
दैट्स
Huh?
वो वरुण भी करा था ना अभी वो, कौन सा गेम, फॉल गाइज।
That's,
फॉल
I
गाइज।
think that's more like similar to Battle Royale. It's a Battle Royale of some kind. I don't know about that
नहीं,
game.
वो बेसिकली वो ये पार्कर करते हुए एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना होता है, बट उसका मेन एस्पेक्ट वही होता है, प्ले विद फ्रेंड्स।
Yeah, yeah, but against other people.
अगेंस्ट।
Hmm.
दैट वाज
Uh, okay, I'll club two things together. Yeah, but I've been watching a few Malayalam films. You also like mentioned a film your mom watched recently, Mrs. Is that तूने देखी थी वो?
नहीं, मैं नहीं देखता।
That seems like a Bollywood version of a Malayalam film. Uh, The Great Indian Kitchen. I think it came out in around 2019, which is a really good film. Um, I've been watching Malayalam films recently. मैंने uh, Rifle Club देखी, uh, and this is another 2024 film, and that was, I mean, there's just uh, and for some reason there's just a lot of Anurag Kashyap acting in these Malayalam films. You know who that is?
नाम सुना है मैंने, बट आई कांट एसोसिएट विद द फेस।
I think you need, like, I'll make you explore Indian cinema. Kabir, I
मैं
think
तो
you,
नहीं देखना मूवीज भाई।
अरे तुम्हें भाई कुकिंग जैसी चीजें थोड़ी देता रहूंगा पूरे टाइम. Anyway,
हाँ।
like to get, well, get a better sense of what your culture is producing. Uh, so Rifle Club is just this um about this bunch of people who are in a rifle club, and their attitude towards everything, they at some point they are under attack by
What is a rifle club?
like a hobbyist club for rifle enthusiasts.
Like they go shooting,
Yeah, yeah,
like in a
it's in
shooting
the
range.
middle of a forest. एक विला है बहुत बड़ा सा, जहाँ पर they have all the guns and accessories to uh, वो hunting पे भी जाते हैं. Yes. uh, yeah, it's just a fun film, I would say. उस uh, उसके अलावा I also watched Thallumaala for the second time.
For the second time.
हाँ। आ, और मैंने पहली बार उसकी एक हफ्ते पहले ही देखी थी।
What is that movie about?
It's very difficult to describe. It's a heavily stylistic film, you know, like uh, it has its own visual language, and uh, it's very it has the editing in it is really intense. It's very
What is the
fast
movie about?
paced. It's about these uh, this theme of how rivalries and fighting, the dynamic of fighting, like how fights lead to some of the greatest friendships, and
Hmm.
uh, how fights lead to great rivalries.
Are Malayalam films similar to South Indian films?
You mean Tollywood?
Huh.
No. Like you are thinking of those action South films, right? Uh,
I have only seen action South films. I
uh,
don't know a single non-action South film.
yeah, like it. These films feel more like somebody genuinely wants to make these films. They uh, seem to come from a place of earnestness, and I would say that that's the most important thing in any art. And like
I
that's why
would,
honestly I feel like it sounds like a hyperbolic statement, but I feel that at this moment the Malayalam film industry is the most interesting film industry in the world.
हाँ मलयालम कहाँ बोलते हैं वैसे उसमें क्या करते हैं?
Kerala.
हाँ
I mean,
even
हाँ हाँ बोल.
Kerala is somewhat still a South Indian state.
I mean, yeah, it is South Indian, but when you think of South Indian films, you're thinking of Tollywood, which is Tamil.
I have never seen any Malayalam film. Like ऐसे टीवी पे चलते हुए भी ऐसे clips वगैरह भी कुछ नहीं देखे. I have no idea what they are.
What? Yeah, Malayalam films. I would say they tend to be more considered, well considered, and more poetic in a way. And I mean, that's what you get when like, it's not that they are art housey or like not fun. They are fun. Thallumaala is a really fun film. ये मैंने अभी प्रणत के साथ देखी थी दूसरी बार. Uh, I mean, to be fair, uh, uh, this film was a little too much at this point. It's a very hyperactive film, and it's difficult to keep up with it. So, y- yeah, it's a good film. That's the Malayalam films for you.
I will tell you about
Huh?
a game about digging a hole.
A game about digging a hole. तेरी ऑडियो इतनी क्लियर नहीं है. I mean,
अभी ठीक आ रही होगी. Yes.
हाँ.
So this is also a game I watched, which is exactly what it sounds like. Okay, we buy a new property. Apparently, इस property के backyard में treasure दबा हुआ है. So you grab a shovel and start digging, and that's it. That's the whole game. You dig in your backyard, you find stones, and for some reason you can sell the stone and rocks you find in your backyard while
Does
digging.
this have any association with a game about climbing?
नहीं,
Okay.
it does not. बट इस टाइप के गेम्स आजकल बहुत सारे आ रहे हैं. सी कि ऐसे एब्सर्ड सा कोई कंसेप्ट तो होगा, बट इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ लाइक अ सिमुलेटर ऑफ सिंपल थिंग्स, जैसे फार्म सिमुलेटर. और
Uh,
even though there was one like lawn mower simulator in which you mow your lawn. And
is this a difficult game?
no, it's literally just you grab a shovel and you start digging. There is no challenge, there is no time limit, there's nothing. It's just a digging simulator,
Oh,
but it's fun.
it's fun. Is it
It is.
satisfying? Like one of those satisfying videos? Oddly
Uh,
satisfying videos?
it's a small part of it, not a major part of it. But as you dig deeper, you can, like, from the stuff you're selling, you can buy better shovel and dig faster. Like even get a drilling machine or something. And this kind of exploration fascination, right? कि पता नहीं क्या मिलेगा जमीन के अंदर खोदते खोदते,
I mean,
finding different artifacts and stuff. I guess real life में ऐसा कभी होगा नहीं. You don't find random stuff underground, but in the game it
like
is
digging
somewhat.
in Terraria.
Yes.
Hmm.
Even यहाँ टेरारिया में भी इसका बहुत बड़ा पार्ट डिगिंग ही होता था. You keep digging down and explore,
Hmm.
and I like those types of games. So this was also fun.
Man likes
इसकी
two
थोड़ी.
things, climbing and digging.
The other day I was actually thinking about how fun it would be कि एक जैसे ड्रोन होता है, राइट?
Hmm.
उसको ड्रोन में कैमरे में देखते रहते हो. व्हाट इफ आई मीन ये ऑलरेडी ऑफ कोर्स एग्जिस्ट करता है, बट लाइक एज अ पर्सनल थिंग, एक सबमरीन है तुम्हारे,
Hmm.
रिमोट कंट्रोल सबमरीन, एंड यू कैन जस्ट, उसमें स्क्रीन पे तुम्हें दिख रहा है उसके कैमरे में क्या दिख रहा है, एंड यू कैन जस्ट walk along the ocean floor and see all the stuff there is. Because like you see on Discovery Channel, कुछ तो भी creatures वगैरह क्या क्या तो नहीं होता अंडर वाटर, we have not explored at all.
Hmm.
And how fun it would be just एक ऐसे ही छोटा सा कोई भी सबमरीन टाइप से जिसमें कैमरा लगा हुआ है, एक्सप्लोर अंडर वाटर स्टफ.
I mean, I think you're overestimating how much stuff there is to explore underwater.
I I
I
don't
mean,
want to
I
because
can like really, I mean, for that same reason, I would say like I feel sort of curious about scuba diving. Uh, not uh, sending a drone in there, but because I told you about my scuba diving experience, right? Even though it was sort of like a little, you would think since this guy is grabbing me or drag कर रहा है पानी में इधर उधर and I don't have a lot of control, it would be a little underwhelming. But it was still an amazing experience. And I also watched this documentary. I think I've told you about it. Uh, My teacher octopus, my octopus teacher, ऐसा कुछ नाम था उस documentary का. And this, it's just about this guy who decides to who likes scuba diving. और अब उसके बगल में एक बे है, ऐसा कुछ जगह है उसमें वो रेगुलरली रोज डाइव करता है. and he starts seeing an octopus regularly, and he just does a very longitudinal makes a longitudinal observation of that octopus, which sounds like uh, the feeling you're talking about, right?
You remember it जब हम समीक्षा के साथ रिकॉर्ड कर रहे थे. I
Uh,
told you as a kid I used to explore around the sand. पाइल आके रखते थे कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए,
hmm,
just looking for rocks.
uh,
Like, okay, finding rocks is fun, but like उसका main part वही है कि you try to look for different stuff, even though generally तो कुछ interesting होता नहीं है, right? What do you expect in a pile of sand? But
hmm,
still, it was fun to me. और जैसे अगर मैं कोई नदी के पास भी जाता था एज अ किड, आई विल स्पेंड आवर्स वो नदी में, जस्ट उसके नदी के फ्लोर पर अलग अलग चीजें, अलग अलग कीड़े मकोड़े, ऑर्गेनिजम्स या पत्थर हैं, उनको देखने में. So that kind of act is fun.
hmm.
I would enjoy कोई ओशन के फ्लोर पर एक्सप्लोर करना. स्कूबा डाइविंग,
I mean,
it
isn't
kind of.
that the same thing? But the idea is that you're it's a more isolated experience and like isolating experience, and it's there's also this fascination with the idea ki, okay, this is something you that isn't normal. What you're doing right now is not normal. Huh?
क्या मतलब है?
Like humans exploring इतनी देर तक the bed of an ocean या फिर like shallow bay.
I just want to see ocean creatures.
I mean,
I mean,
yeah, that's
even
a part.
even though we can see कि हाँ डिस्कवरी चैनल या एनिमल प्लेनेट पे दिखाते रहते हैं वो, but there is something special about looking by yourself, exploring by yourself, as opposed to कोई इंटरनेट पे देखना, वीडियो पे देखना.
Yes, I would agree.
Because I do think कि already ऐसे स्ट्रीमिंग वो है, चैनल्स है जो एक्चुअली ओशन बेड के वो लाइव स्ट्रीम करते हैं फुटेज. आई थिंक आई सॉ दैट एट सम पॉइंट कि वो रोज लाइव स्ट्रीम करते हैं. दे डू हैव अ स्मॉल सबमरीन व्हिच दे पुट इन ओशन एंड दे लाइव स्ट्रीम द फुटेज.
What do you think I am talking about?
स्कूबा डाइविंग की बात कर रहे थे.
Yeah, like, am I like not able to pinpoint what you're talking about? You particularly are talking about?
No, I was just saying why I would like that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I would like that too. Yeah.
Actually, it's अब back to ये game about digging a hole. उसमें ऐसा कोई ट्विस्ट होता है कि as you dig down you find an underground cave, और फिर उसकी अलग स्टोरी चलती है. But that was not really the fun part of it. Fun part वही था जमीन में नॉर्मली शॉवल से खोदते रहो, एक्सप्लोर करो. एंड
The
इस
possibility
गेम,
of there being something is better than there being something.
यस, उसमें इसके स्पीड रन हुए इस गेम के. लाइक उसका मतलब गेम तब खत्म होता है when you get to that cave and there is a treasure chest in that cave. And as soon as you open that treasure chest, the game ends. So a simple game like this has a whole speedrunning community which try to get to that treasure chest as fast as possible because there is a uh, factor of luck in this game. उसके जो rocks वगैरह सब चीजें थी they are randomly generated
You
with
say
every game.
factor of luck. Uh, is there anything but luck?
Yes, इसका
Yeah.
जो fastest speedrun है वो that is under 50 seconds. और इसका जब मैं गेम प्ले देखा था that went on for like an hour.
I mean, what can you do? क्योंकि by the sound of it, अभी तक मुझे लग रहा है कि you just randomly dig and just happen upon a treasure.
नहीं, इसमें बहुत सारे एक्चुअली आई गेस गेम ब्रेकिंग एक्सप्लॉइट्स ढूंढ निकाले लोगों ने. So apparently they have found a way by which they can sell the same rock multiple times.
Ah.
So like if they find a single rock, they can use it to get infinite money. But you have to find that first rock, right? So you kind of rely on getting that initial luck, which only takes like 1 second, right? कि तुमने dig करना start करा and if you're lucky, you might get one rock on the very surface, right?
Hmm.
So as soon as you get that initial luck, you try to push it to get a good run because from that single rock you can generate more infinite money and that you can use that money to get all the
Get
upgrades
better
quickly.
equipment. Yeah.
But that is just the surface. इसके आगे और भी exploits ढूंढते हैं. उस गेम में एक लैम्प होता है, राइट, जिसको अगर तुम बहुत अंदर तक डिग करके जाओगे इट गेट्स डार्क, सो यू कैन पुट ऑन अ लैम्प, बट यू कैन ऑल्सो डिस्ट्रॉय अ लैम्प. जो तुमने लैम्प रखा है यू कैन डिस्ट्रॉय इट. एंड पीपल फाउंड आउट अ वे इन विच इफ यू डिस्ट्रॉय अ लैम्प एंड इमीडिएटली क्लिक ऑन द वॉल बिहाइंड इट, तो उसका जो डिस्ट्रॉय करने वाला कोड है वो उसके पीछे वाली वॉल के ऊपर भी रन हो जाएगा and it will destroy the wall behind it. So using that, you can get rid of a large part of the terrain. So instead of digging with a shovel, you can use this exploit to dig faster.
Hmm.
And also there was out of bounds uh, exploit in which you can go out of the map and that will make you fall all the way down and you can then go back in somehow. So is this like when the game is this simple, people usually find clever ways to break it and uh, get faster time on completion, which is interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Speedruns are always like fun. Like मैंने कभी speedruns इतने नहीं देखे, बस उसका देखा है. क्या क्लाइम कौन सा गेम खेला था हमने?
Difficult game और time
Oh
या
wait,
फिर
that
वो वाला
Chain
that
Together.
other वाला chain together, right?
उसका स्पीड रन देखा है मैंने, आई गेस मोस्टली, बस बट इट वाज रियली फन टू watch this guy doing all these maneuvers we didn't even think of.
Mm.
uh, yeah. um
I actually have been doing speedrun. I will talk about it after a while.
oh,
Yes.
interesting. I'll talk about the last movie I want to talk about अभी आज के लिए. uh, what we do in the shadows. This is
What
a
do you do in the shadow?
Taika Waititi film. Taika Waititi is the guy who made Jojo Rabbit and also who made a bunch of the Thor films. You know those colorful Thor films?
I don't know any
Yeah.
of the thought.
Uh, this. guy has a thing for. I mean, this particular filmmaker has a thing for uh, uh pulling people's heartstrings, pulling at people's heartstrings. Uh, I would say like what we do in the shadows tries to do is like it still has that undertone. It's like, he always tends to make comedies that also like feel emotional. Uh, and he's a pretty good filmmaker, I would say. What we do in the shadows is a mockumentary about these vampires, four vampires living together in the modern world as like flatmates. Have you watched any mockumentaries or though?
Can you name any popular ones?
A mockumentary is like tends to it's a fake documentary and it's usually uh,
Would you
funny.
classify it? I guess it was not funny, but it was horror. That Psycho, the large family. You remember that?
Yeah, that's not really funny. Like mockumentary is like also sort of at the same time having fun with that genre documentary. Like it's just a fiction. Uh, but yeah, it is a pseudo documentary like that. So these vampires living together and the problems, the very regular life, normal problems they have, their interactions with other monsters like werewolves. I really love the werewolves in this film. These vampires are pretty much seem like really horrible people in considered they don't seem like nice people. But the werewolves seem weirdly nice. You know that like from stories and watching them in other places. Werewolves have this reputation of being sort of selfless, I think. Like they're very considerate of not wanting to harm anyone when the full moon shines, so they lock themselves up. This man, like when uh, uh, they're first introduced on a random walk. There's an encounter where these vampires see these werewolves and they hate these werewolves, and they start trying to pick a fight with them, like teasing them. Uh, uh, the werewolves start getting angry and they are in a group and like they say at one point they trying to calm themselves down they say in unison, we are werewolves, not swearwolves. It's a fun film. I watched it with some extra. Uh, yeah, that's all the films I have to talk about. Why don't you like finish the games you need to talk about uske baad?
Oh. So I was talking about speed running, right?
Uh,
So I'm speed running in Genshin. There is this new event, which is like the hardest content we have gotten yet in that game.
hmm.
And for the first time, there is a leaderboard. Like until now, there's never been a leaderboard in this game. Yeah, it's mostly been an individual game. इसमें you can play together, but कुछ करने को होता नहीं है साथ में खेलने में. But for the first time, इसमें एक event है, which is normal combat event. but you can imagine the time you take to kill the bosses is displayed publicly, and so I've been trying to get a very good run. Or it's not a single challenge. The challenge spans for 5 days, and each day has a different challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So कल का जो चैलेंज था वो पहले दिन का चैलेंज था. And when I first played it, it seemed impossible that I would be able to. There are different floors, right? Have you played any of those games which, like, if you clear a floor, you get to the next floor, and it's like a tower ascension type of mechanism?
If you're defeated, you start from the beginning again, as a
Huh. Yes. Yes.
like it's not really exactly floor ascension, where I've played Hades,
Huh.
जिसमें you get through one room at a time and essentially you are climbing through hell. You're not like
Huh.
visually you're not really climbing, you're just going through doors. But yeah.
So इनके जो चैलेंज है उसमें टोटल ऑफ 25 फ्लोर्स है. And initially I was able to get to like 20 or 21 floors, but then the last few floors are like incredibly difficult. And I looked up on the internet कि दूसरे लोग कैसे क्लियर कर रहे हैं, एंड जितने यूट्यूब पे वीडियो देखा मैं, सबके अकाउंट्स वर हाईली इन्वेस्टेड कि लोग उसमें थाउजेंड्स ऑफ डॉलर्स लगाए इस गेम पे. एंड उसके उनसे जो कैरेक्टर्स मिले उससे उनने क्लियर करा पूरे मैक्स डिप मतलब 25th फ्लोर तक. सो आई इनिशियली थॉट कि ठीक है, इट डज नॉट सीम पॉसिबल फॉर माई अकाउंट बिकॉज आई डोंट स्पेंड मनी ऑन दिस गेम. तो लेट्स जस्ट सी कि हाउ फार कैन आई गो. सो लाइक आई वाज trying to get a faster time on the floor I was. We try करते गए and like I discovered many new mechanics with the characters I had or different gimmicks. और साथ ही साथ में फॉलो कर रहा था उनकी
Just
कम्युनिटी
because
को
you
कि
were
भी.
trying to speed run, you started discovering new mechanics.
हाँ. एंड जैसे मैं कर रहा था वैसे वैसे कम्युनिटी खुद ट्राई कर रही थी इसके नए नए एक्सप्लॉइट्स ढूंढने के लिए. एंड देयर वर सम रियली बिग एक्सप्लॉइट्स लाइक in a game like Genshin, you don't expect exploits because जैसे मैं दूसरा गेम बताता था, it was a quite simple game, right? But Genshin is it's it's like almost completely bug free. So they are really no bug आते भी तो वो they usually get patched very quickly.
Hmm.
But despite that, there are like जैसे डार्क सोल्स में तूने देखा है कि कई सारे जो स्पीड रन्स होते हैं, they are not really breaking the game, but they are like using the AI of the enemy to their advantage because it is predictable. जो enemy है उनका AI, they can
I mean,
exploit
that's what
it
you're
to like.
supposed to do in the game, right? You're supposed to.
नहीं, like you can use like predict their movement and dodge their attacks, but like sometimes you would see some clears in which they get in a position where the AI cannot get to them, and they will slowly kill it from far,
So like,
which was not intended in the game
uh,
by the developers. I'm talking like that.
uh,
तो ऐसे कुछ उसमें भी मतलब ये चैलेंज ये जो है इवेंट ये कल ही आया है और एक दिन के अंदर इसके अंदर इतने सारे intricacies explore होते जा रहे थे, which was quite interesting. And by the end of the day, I was actually able to clear floor 25, which was the last floor,
oh,
and I was really happy. Like at the beginning of the day, I was at floor 21, and I was having difficulty clearing that floor, and I completely believed that it would be impossible for me to like get to a higher floor, but like it was a fun experience moving up and फाइंडिंग डिफरेंट राउट्स। आज का जो चैलेंज आया है, आई एम एबल टू गेट टू फ्लोर 23, and like even right now I feel like it seems impossible to get to floor 25, but maybe if I spend some more time exploring there, I might find some different exploit to use to move up a floor or something. Yeah, that this is really fun. In my opinion, this is the most fun event yet in this game.
Hmm.
And actually, when I looked up इसका Genshin के subreddit पे, the players are really hitting on this event.
Hating.
Yeah. Yes,
Why?
because it is like a difficult event. Genshin में अभी तक जनरली इतनी डिफिकल्टी नहीं आई है,
Uh,
एंड आई मीन डिफिकल्टी आई भी है तो दे जनरली डू नॉट रिवॉर्ड यू फॉर क्लियरिंग दैट डिफिकल्ट कंटेंट। हमेशा वो ऑप्शनल रहता है कि यू कैन,
ये ऑप्शनल नहीं है?
it is optional, but they this time they have a reward. It's not in-game currency. It's just a name card. Name card होता है तुम्हारे profile पे, you can add a picture your profile. It's like a achievement kind of thing. कि like you get us, जैसे डिस्कॉर्ड पे से वो नहीं होता कि तुम्हारे प्रोफाइल के ऊपर वो कोई कलरफुल सा वो लग जाएगा,
I guess
अपीयरेंस काइंड ऑफ कॉस्ट्यूम टाइप ऑफ
a
थिंग।
lot of people playing Genshin like play by putting money into it. I guess I would imagine that those are the people who are having problem with it because this is something they cannot buy.
यस, आई मीन वो भी है और जो नहीं भी है, जो जिनने मनी पुट नहीं करा वो भी काफी हो रहा है, बिकॉज लाइक वरुण भी गेंशिन खेलता है एंड ही इज जनरली नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन कॉम्बैट साइड ऑफ दिस गेम।
What is he interested in? Gotcha.
कलेक्टिंग gacha, yes, collecting, he's like collecting
Gam
characters like Pokemon.
He's just a
Yes, and
gambling addict.
and I would say कि Genshin के combat is quite quite complex, as you would not expect how complex it is like if you get into it. I think I've talked about it कि like the interaction of different characters you can use, like
Yeah.
combine them together.
The way you talk
And
about it, it sounds like chemistry.
yeah, and like, I have always said कि ये गेम एक वेस्टेड पोटेंशियल है कि इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स कॉम्बैट सिस्टम बनाया बट उसका कुछ यूज ही नहीं होता है, बिकॉज द डिफिकल्टी ऑफ द गेम इज क्वाइट लो, एंड as soon as they bring a difficult content and put an actual reward behind it, even the reward may it doesn't affect it. They have not put in-game currency which like helps you in getting more gacha pulls. It's just an appearance thing, but people are still pissed off because the casual players cannot get it now.
I guess that's why that there's usually easier content. Okay, it's a very mass appeal game, right?
Yes,
So they want to cater to everyone. And well,
it makes me sad.
it's weird that people even have problem with optional content.
I mean पहले भी डिफिकल्ट समवट डिफिकल्ट कंटेंट आया है बट जनरली उसका रिवॉर्ड नॉन एग्जिस्टेंट होता था, उसमें कुछ भी मतलब रिवॉर्ड नहीं मिलता था, लाइक बहुत ही थोड़ा सा मिलता था कि पीपल इट वाज लाइक कि you would get the same amount of reward if you just logged in for another day. That's all the reward was for like completing a really hard content. But this time they have put a cosmetic, and like cosmetic का एक वो होता है राइट, ये लोगों को अपील होता है कि they can flex it I guess because it's a limited time event, right? It will go away very soon.
Hmm.
So like जो collectors है जो they who like to collect everything,
Hmm.
they cannot get it.
Ah. Oh. Is there like a trading thing in Genshin? You can put.
There is not, you cannot trade with other players.
Uh,
Yeah. And ऐसा भी नहीं कि you can clear it if you have spent a lot of money. Even if you have spent a lot of money, this is an event in which you will have to play good. Like you cannot just get powerful characters and it will clear itself. Like you have to spend time and understand the mechanics, even if you have the sufficiently powerful characters.
How does Varun feel about this event?
Varun have not played Genshin for about a month now. he, last month उसने gacha pull करा था and he lost the gacha.
Hmm.
Like he was trying to get a specific weapon, but he got the other weapon which he did not want, and he really wanted the weapon he was pulling for. So he just got frustrated and stopped playing Genshin.
I mean, talking about gacha, he also mentioned that you apparently played Balatro again, and
Yes.
I recently found out that that game is designed by somebody who used to be in the gambling industry, and
I mean,
that's like sort of uh indicator of why that game is so addictive.
in on the surface, it looks like Balatro is a gambling game, but as you play it, I don't think it is much
Nay, it's
focused
look,
on
one
gambling.
of the defining features of gambling is the addiction, right? Like, they, मैं उसकी बात कर रहा हूँ. Like,
It
like
is an
it's
addicting game. I would say that it is
yeah,
quite
like
addicting.
क्योंकि like you cannot make money in the gambling industry, I guess, unless you make stuff addictive. Because people are losing, actively losing money. How do you make that addictive? How do you give them hope that perhaps they can win?
Speaking of Balatro, in that game, um, like I had stopped playing that Balatro for a while because I like cleared most of the base game, like all the stuff which the base game had to offer, and then I like stopped playing the game and found a YouTuber by the name of Raffle Light, and he had made some videos on Balatro, and like he's quite good at the game, and it was fun to watch him play. And as I watched him play and understand what he was doing, like it also gave me the ideas for strategy and stuff, and got motivated to get back into it. And
Balatro
that's why I started
speedrun.
speedrun. I guess there are speedruns in this,
I was
which
at.
are
Mm-hmm.
like
अभी
they,
बोल बोल.
they are not time based speedruns, but like how quickly you can, like quickly. I mean how
Turn
many moves
based.
you can get.
Uh,
Yes, how many turns? Or I guess in the game there is something called anti. So how many antis you can get? Least amount of antis you can get to the end. तू
अभी
क्या बोल रहा था?
3-4 दिन पहले I almost was considering getting Balatro.
I got it for free. You can get, like pirate it.
I mean, it's an indie game. It's pretty cheap, to be honest. I don't like if a game is that cheap. I don't mind supporting the game. मगर like yeah, two thoughts stopped me. पहला तो uh, I was the idea that it's addictive, and the also the idea that if this is meant for me, because I am bad with cards, uh, card
I
games, and
I,
like,
I can confidently say that you won't get addicted. Like I don't think I've ever seen you get addicted commit to
I
any game.
I think like my bigger concern is that it just simply won't be for me. Uh,
Yes,
uh like I
that
won't
might
enjoy
be.
the gameplay loop. The other thing that stopped me was I was थोड़ी देर के लिए conflicted कि मैं फोन पे खरीदूं या फिर स्टीम पे.
Oh, there's a phone version, right?
Yeah. Then the सोचा मैंने कि I mean
I
it
would
looks
suggest
fun
you,
on phone, but I feel that if I would like to, if I play a game like that, I would like to stream that for my friends. Uh, that's why I think.
like, before you get it, I would suggest that you first watch its gameplay. Like, I first watched Markiplier's gameplay, and
Oh,
that's why I was motivated to get it.
yeah.
And if you enjoy the gameplay, then get it.
I've actually like not been feeling much like playing games recently. It just seemed like just too much effort to start up a game, load it, load ho, menu screen देखो, and then the game. I just then you need some time to get into the game. I have been more into reading recently. और
Oh, what are you reading?
2 हफ्ते पहले मैंने 4 किताबें एक साथ उठा ली.
Oh, what can I say?
Uh,
Metamorphosis.
and I even finished one of those books,
Oh,
Metamorphosis. I know.
is it that book? I have seen its cover कि एक आदमी कोई दूसरे एनिमल में ऐसे फ्रेम बाय फ्रेम कन्वर्ट होते जा रहा है उसके कवर में बना होता है. Is it that book or is it?
नहीं, इट्स यूजुअली उसके कवर पे एक कीड़ा रहता है. हाँ.
Is it? No, no. Okay, I was thinking of another book. What is that book's name?
I don't.
I have seen with memory में एक particular book आ रही है which I have seen um, on multiple occasions, especially in the library in DPS
Oh.
and also recently कहीं और पे मैं देखा था कोई किसी के घर विजिट करने गया था वहाँ पड़ा हुआ था. Have you not seen that specific cover जिसमें एक ह्यूमन है वो कोई दूसरे एक एनिमल में कन्वर्ट हो गया है और वो उसी के पूरा ट्रांसफर तूने वो वाला वो चार्ट देखा जिसमें एक एप से ह्यूमन का कैसे वो
नहीं, I
पहले एक
get what you're
के एप
talking
से
about, but what is the human becoming इसमें?
कोई पर्टिकुलर या तो एनिमल या तो कोई आई रिमेम्बर आई थिंक एलिगेटर में कन्वर्ट हो. आई रियली
Alligator
वांट टू नो.
human. The human becomes an alligator.
आई एम.
Is it like, does it seem like a fiction या फिर
It
self
does
help
seem like
type
a
की book?
fiction.
Uh, Human becomes all alligator, lizard,
What?
human becomes alligator, book cover. I don't know. Could look into it
I cannot
later.
find.
We're doing a
Yes, yes.
podcast. Uh, yeah. I,
Why do I have a feeling that Pranat might know this? Like I want to ask him what this.
हाँ, पूछ लेना भाई, पूछ लेना. 3 हफ्ते बाद रिलीज होगा, वो बताएगा. उसे पता है कि नहीं. Anyway, so before I talk about Metamorphosis, I'll tell you briefly about the other stuff I've been reading. Uh, so like, okay, two of those things I'm not actually reading. Uh, uh, so uh, मैं यहाँ के मेस में I go to work, and We are not, like, one of the biggest bummers of working there is that we are not allowed to wear earphones. Okay, that whole, like, इतना mundane काम होता, that whole thing would be much easier if I was just allowed to wear earphones, listen to some podcast या कुछ. Like I have to spend 4.5 hours a day वहाँ पर 4 days a week. And you know how I've not been getting a haircut जब से मैं यहाँ आया हूँ.
What else? What connection are you making?
मैं पिछले सेमेस्टर के एंड में I was like considering getting a haircut. Uh, एक thought तो था कि the haircut is too expensive, but I still hate long hair enough to want to get a haircut. One of the thought that stopped me from getting a haircut was that perhaps if my hair gets long enough, I'll be able to wear my earphones while working वहाँ पर without people
Oh,
detecting.
bhai, I think Varun used to do that in class in college.
सच में.
Actually, I do remember something like this. कि वरुण के लंबे लंबे he has seen his photos, right? कि लंबे लंबे
हाँ
बाल थे
हाँ
वरुण
हाँ.
के,
हम्म.
and he would wear earphones in class and nobody would notice.
हम्म. Yeah.
हाँ,
पढ़ाई नहीं करी आदमी ने.
कोई नहीं पढ़ा भाई कॉलेज में.
Yeah, so I did the same thing. शुरू में I was worried, anxious कि if that mm, would be visible या फिर शुरू में बाल ऐसे रखूंगा मे बी हट जाएंगे बाद में. यूजुअली बस एक कान में पहनता हूँ. it it's been working pretty well for now, like.
I mean, your hair is not long. It does not look long enough to hide it at
तो like okay, we
right now.
usually wear a hairnet जब हम वहाँ होते हैं. And I मैं बाल ऐसे करता हूँ उन्हें, मतलब मुझे टाइम लगता है थोड़ा उस तरह से एडजस्ट करने में कि आई कवर दिस विद माई हेयर एंड होल्ड इट टुगेदर विद द हेयर नेट.
Hmm.
रिसेंटली आई गॉट अ स्केयर जब उन्होंने बोला दे आर डन विद हेयर नेट्स. अभी 2-3 दिन पहले उन्होंने मुझे एक टोपी पकड़ा दी. But like it's works well enough with a topi too. Topi is able to hold the hair in place too. That's okay. But like the thing is कि बस it should cover the earphone.
Like it's barely covering as I can see in the
It's
video.
uh दो two things. अभी तो मेरे बाल थोड़े wet हैं, and it also needs like ऊपर कुछ सपोर्ट होता है टोपी जैसा. इट गेट्स इजियर एंड मुझे 5 मिनट लगते हैं उस पोजीशन पे लाने के लिए. मैं बाथरूम जाता हूँ स्पेशली इसके लिए. एंड इट्स बिन गुड. आई क्योंकि आई started listening to an audiobook.
What would you do like if you're working and somebody comes to talk to you? How
I
how
just
will you handle that?
give them the attention. मैं-
Can like is that not a problem if you're something is playing in your ear and then you have to hear what they're saying?
I'll tell you that happens quite often क्योंकि I have to deal with this person, right? So I picked up a book that I wanted to read, but I also sort of knew कि I would never be able to read this just because of its sheer length. Uh, so I picked up War and Peace. Have you heard of that book? It's Leo Tolstoy. It's a classic. Uh, so like this is one of the most giant ass books I've ever seen. Iski audio book is somewhere around 69 hours. Uh, yeah. So what I've been doing is मैंने शुरू के 15 chapters सुने पहले एक दो दिन में then I felt that I missed a lot because I have to actively interact with people. I just listened to the whole thing from the beginning अगले दिन while at work, of course, while at my shift. So like I've mostly been listening to everything twice, and I feel that it makes up for it, what you're talking about.
I was like less talking about not being able to understand what they're saying in the podcast, but what the person standing in front of you is saying.
मेरे
I
एक
get
कान में
like
रहता है ना.
still like अगर एक कान में मेरे होता है get like confused very easily अगर कोई मेरे से कुछ बात कर रहा है and there is some noise
I think
somewhere.
I'm able to shift my attention. I mean, of course, I cannot pay attention to both at the same time. Yes. Magar I'm able to shift my attention from whatever's going on here to what the other person is saying.
Like it's not about attention. Like does does it not get mixed up कि वो आवाज आ रही है this
नहीं
आवाज
भाई,
and they
humans
get
have the ability to
superfluous.
filter.
I cannot do that. I get like I बहुत easily मैं कॉल आवाज में इस चीज के लिए कि like if I'm talking to someone and there's some noise
कोई
going
और
on
बगल
somewhere
में
else.
बात कर रहा है.
I cannot talk in that. Like,
I mean,
understand what the person in front
it's
of me
not
is saying.
ideal, but I feel that like in a context like that, I'm able to. I don't think I have any trouble understanding what the person is saying. Interesting that you have problem with that. The other book I've been reading is I've been reading Alice's Adventure in Wonderland to Samiksha over call, which is fun. And she's been reading a book to me too, Topi Shukla.
तो कुछ
Yes, that's a fun book too. अभी इतनी सुनी नहीं है मैंने. अभी just दो chapters सुने उसके, मगर it's fun. It's nice to have like stories like that. Like,
I
yeah,
do you not find it difficult to read out loud?
I do. I do. I think I'm really bad at it. I want some extra that like I'm not very good at reading out loud. I'm not good at reading in general. I'm a painfully slow reader. I feel like I feel really anxious. I get really anxious when I have to collectively read with other people. क्योंकि वो लोग कब खत्म कर देते हैं पेज पढ़ना मुझे पता नहीं चलता. मैं पहला पैराग्राफ ही समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ.
Exactly, and I mean, ठीक है, समझना is one part, but the other thing is to speak it continuously even as a kid कि ऐसा होता था ना कई बार कुछ क्लास में बोलेंगे कि हाँ एक एक करके उठो और रीड करो नेक्स्ट आंसर. I always felt quite troubled whenever that happened.
Yeah, I also used to have this thing that when I'm reading out loud, I cannot understand what I'm reading at the same time. क्योंकि I can either read it in my mind or read it out loud. Uh,
And like I find it exhausting somehow. I would
uh,
like even if I read out like just a single paragraph, I would get exhausted very quickly for some reason.
yeah, I find it exhausting too. मगर I don't know if it would work out the same for you, but I sort of get used to it as I'm reading. Like I don't get perfect, but I get better at it as I'm reading out loud because a part of it might just be how not used to we are to it. But yeah, like if I have to read out anything loud in front of people, I panic so bad. I fumble a lot while reading out loud of it, then that anxiety makes me fumble more. Yeah. Uh, I've not explored a lot of Hindi literature, so and Topi Shukla is a short story, I think, written in Hindi, which is nice. I'm like, I need to actually try reading something in Hindi. I don't know if पढ़ पाऊंगा कि नहीं.
Hindi. I think because मेरी मम्मी इतनी इन्वॉल्व रहती है ये मेडिटेशन कैंप से एंड उनका मोस्ट ऑफ द मटेरियल हिंदी में रहता है सो जनरली व्हेन एवर आई एम हेल्पिंग हर आई हैव टू रीड स्टफ रिटन इन हिंदी मेरी हिंदी एक्चुअली काफ़ी इम्प्रूव हुई है ओवर द इयर्स बिकॉज ऑफ दिस यस जस्ट कि रेगुलरली मेरे को उनके मदद करना पड़ता है कुछ भी जो भी चीज़ है उसमें और वो हिंदी में लाइक समटाइम्स शी हैज टू लाइक कुछ नोटिस वगैरह लिखना है हिंदी में लिखना है हमको या फिर जैसे भी कई बार मेरे को बोलती है कि कुछ इंग्लिश में लिखा हुआ है नहीं हिंदी में लिखा हुआ आई हैव टू ट्रांसलेट इट इन इंग्लिश ये सब ज्यादा होता है मेरी मम्मी ट्रांसलेशन करने का बोलती है तो लाइक आई हैव टू फर्स्ट रीड इट इन हिंदी एंड देन ट्रांसलेट इट टू इंग्लिश तो ऐसा करते करते मेरी हिंदी काफी अच्छी हो गई लाइक
Hmm.
रीडिंग इवन राइटिंग
Translation actually like uh, इतना मैंने actively try नहीं किया मगर these AIs like ChatGPT वगैरह they seem pretty good at translation.
they are not good at translation,
Really?
like at least in this context, because they generally have like they will translate well what is written, but they don't understand the context, right?
Like they
What
don't
is the content?
convey like there's this idea of trying to convey what the other language is saying instead of just translating it word to word.
Yes. Like अगर
Oh.
वो जनरली तब अच्छा होता है if you are translating something commonly spoken, कॉमन कुछ फ्रेज है या ऐसा कुछ है सिंपल चीज है then they will be very good at it but as soon as you get into some niche stuff then they struggle a lot that scenario
Hmm.
and also in another case कई बार ऐसा होता है कि when you're translating you have to keep some stuff in one language as it is कि जैसे हिंदी में भी कई बार हम इंग्लिश वर्ड्स इंक्लूड करते हैं राइट and you don't just directly uh, translate each and every word to Shuddha Hindi. When
Hmm.
you're translating to ChatGPT, it does not do that. It would completely convert it in one language or the other. So that stuff you have to do on your own.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be better at that than like something like Google Translate.
Like I do use it for translation, but what I generally do कि मैं उसको पूरा दे दूंगा and ask it to translate and from what it has translated I will uh, like just check each and every part if it has translated correctly or not and if it looks good enough I would just copy it as it is
Hmm.
and the parts which are not good I will translate on them.
So, talking about the book I did finish reading in this time, Metamorphosis. You
What is it again?
This is a book by Franz Kafka. Samiksha mentioned it in the last podcast that she read that recently on मैंने भी दो हफ्ते पहले पढ़ी. I've been wanting to read this for a while. And I also talked about another book by Kafka, The Trial, पिछली podcast में, and that's probably the uh, uh, you could say that's the most influential piece of media I've ever consumed.
Hmm.
Even though I
You
read it
told
when I was
about
a little old. Yeah?
हाँ तू बताया था आपको podcast.
Yes, yes. Uh, Metamorphosis is his most popular work. It's relatively short, like The Trial is a full-blown novel. This is more like a short story. It's focuses on this guy uh, who one day like just wakes up and he's turned into an insect,
हाँ,
like a insect of his size, regular size,
like
and like
small insect.
no, human size insect. Kafka, if you don't know about him, like he's a very harrowing writer. He like uh, if you read a bit about him, it seems like he had a really miserable life, and that shows in his writing. And this story is sort of about how his this guy was the sole earner of the family, where like consisting of his parents and his sister. He wanted to send his sister to uh, college for certain studies, and like the the first chapter of the effects of him being turned into an insect uh really like the stuff, how the stuff is going on in his mind and stuff that's going around him, that felt like a very unique and interesting, nuanced description of how something like depression feels.
So it is a quite serious novel.
Yeah, it's like uh, 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 yeah, uh, almost all of his, I think all of his writings are really harrowing. And
Because I would like expect if it is a concept as absurd as like being transformed into an insect, it would be goofy. But
uh,
I'm curious how
uh,
do you like, make it serious?
I mean, this guy who is the sole earner of the family is suddenly in a position. He cannot even talk. He can understand, he can feel things. He still feels like a human. He still listens, hears like a human, but he cannot talk. And this guy is suddenly in a position जहाँ पर he can offer nothing of value to the people around him who are supporting him at the moment. Okay, as he gets in this state, he cannot go to the job anymore, work anymore. He cannot earn for the family. His family starts working to like, and also like sort of sustain him. He's just always in his room as an insect. इधर उधर crawl करता रहता है, does nothing else, and they are just uh, the family just keeps him hidden in there, and he, there's this uh, feeling that this man, who used to be the sole earner of the family, is suddenly a person who can offer nothing of value to the people around him who have been sustaining him, neither financially nor in any form of emotional attachment. Because he cannot talk with them, he's just an insect. And he is in a position just he's just taking and becoming a burden on his family members. There's sort of a yeah, like like, do you at all like I'm not sure if in your current state of mind, I don't think that's something you feel curious about particularly. You बुद्धू तुझसे बोल रहा हूँ.
Okay, I am waiting what you're talking about.
I said
इसको
कि
आगे expand करें.
yeah, the like I feel that in your current state of mind, it's not something you feel particularly curious about. Because uh, an appeal of a book like this, a story, any story like this, not just a book, is it sort of holding a mirror to you. Like in a lot of ways, how Evangelion does.
Hmm.
Uh, like it holds a mirror to you. So like I went in with the expectation कि it's not going to mean to me as much as the trial did, क्योंकि I read the trial at a very vulnerable point in my life, and like, uh, but still it was a really harrowing and beautifully written short story. I really liked it.
I would like to read it.
Mm. Yeah, maybe I'll recommend it to you sometime when the time seems right.
The problem is कि the form I will have to read it because I'm generally not a fan of audiobooks and neither do I like reading on the screen. So that's why I
Ah,
generally don't read books. It's just on the
I
sheer
mean, like
discomfort of it.
it's a really old classic short story, which weirdly enough is also taught in schools for some reason. Like people
Wait,
hate
what?
like in the United States, like a lot of people study this in school, and I'm like, why would you? I don't think that I don't think it is particularly harmful to read in the at that age. But like if you're reading this in high school, I don't think it would mean much to you at that point in your life.
So you are saying वो जैसे हमको gullible गुलिवर ट्रैवल्स था या फिर इनविजिबल मैन था इन
Yeah,
दैट
yeah,
सेंस.
yeah. Well, because also you always like just end up pretty much hating everything you're forced to read in school.
Exactly. Like now that I look back at Gulliver Travels, it was quite an interesting story. And even Invisible Man, I don't even know if I completed it, but like those are interesting stories. But to read them in a with the motivation of getting marks, it just ruins the experience.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why it's like a sort of a divisive book too. I think is what just it's a classic, but it's like one of the most popular books of all, most important books of all time. But Goodreads basically rating is 3.9, which is sort of low for what it is, and that's a pattern that usually exists on Goodreads. कि जो भी books are taught in school have a low rating.
Mm.
Uh,
What other books did we read in school?
I really miss being hooked to books. Like I remember reading Goosebumps वगैरह and I used to be so hooked. रात भर बिता देता था पढ़ने में.
They were quite fun.
The only novel back then I read, like a proper novel, was The Kite Runner. तूने और मैंने साथ में पढ़ी थी. Do you remember much about The Kite Runner?
I don't. I was thinking exactly that with work also. It,
It honestly
all I
like,
can remember
huh?
कि there was this servant. I don't remember his
Hassan.
name. Hassan. Yes, and it revolves around him and the protagonist. That's all I remember. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think like that's another one of those books that we sort of read earlier than we should have, like for it to actually mean much. Because
And I think
it's
it is.
slightly a political book too, right? Huh?
Yes, and I think at that age, that was a little. The story था, it was too grounded for us. We generally on the stories पढ़ते थे. They are all happy and dandy. यहाँ
Yeah,
मजे से सब
yeah.
रह रहे हैं. हैप्पी एंडिंग हो रही है. सारे बुरे लोग चले गए. अच्छे लोग आराम से जी रहे हैं. एंड इसमें काफी डार्क स्टोरी रहती है. आई डोंट नो.
I'm not sure if I would like appreciate it even today if I read something like that today. Because I have begun to notice that I tend to like prefer stories that books that deal more with the internal conflicts of people, like very basic fundamental stuff, and like tap into that, and like sort of does that thing that Kafka does, is hold a mirror to you, show you how horrible a person you are. Anyway, I think you have not talked about GTFO.
Yes, GTFO is a game I watched. Have been watching for a while now. There's
Hmm.
this YouTuber by the name Astral Spirit who usually does not do gameplays, but he usually does speedruns and stuff. And GTFO is a cooperative shooter, and in his opinion, it is the most difficult cooperative game of all time. Like,
Cooperative? What do you mean?
yes, it is. Who do I compare it to? Have you seen Left 4 Dead? I guess not. You have seen Left 4 Dead.
No.
Have you seen like any of the zombie apocalypse games in which you have to defend yourself together with your friends? Have you seen any of those games?
No, not really. I don't watch gameplays.
You can, even if you don't watch gameplays, you would know. कौन सा गेम बताऊं?
I think I get the idea though.
यस, तो इसका अगर मैं premise दूं गेम का,
Hmm.
जब एक जब बोलते हैं ना 60 मिलियन ईयर्स अगो मीटरआइट गिरा, डायनासोर्स को वाइप आउट कर दिया, एंड एट प्रेजेंट जहाँ पे मीटर गिरा था, तो साइंटिस्ट को पता चलता है कि उससे बहुत बड़ा एक इरिडियम डिपॉजिट कलेक्ट हो गया है वहाँ पे,
Mm-hmm.
एंड दे ट्राई टू माइन इट, बट एज दे डू दे फाइंड आउट कि the thing which hit Earth was not actually a meteorite but an alien spaceship. And so जैसे ही वो उसके अंदर dig out करते हैं उस जगह को, तो it spreads an infection sort of, which converts all humans into monsters, and basically all life on Earth is gone. It is post-apocalyptic, and only those who put themselves in hydrostasis. I'm not sure exactly what hydrostasis is, but it like cryopod टाइप को कुछ होता है, उसमें उनको टाइम टू टाइम रखना पड़ता है अपने आप को, which lets them survive and not get infected. And there is this soul governing body which starts to install brain chips in people to make them their minions, sort of. बट ठीक है, ये तो स्टोरी चल रही है, इसकी जो गेम प्ले है उसमें बेसिकली यू गो डाउन विथ
Is this
a
another one who
squad.
used Lethal Company derived games?
Lethal, it is different from Lethal Company. Like you do play with four people and like have voice chat and talk to each other, but you don't like, it's not an endless game like Lethal Company. Like जैसे Lethal Company में कोई स्टोरी नहीं, मतलब कैसे बताऊं, it is sort of like a uh, linear story
इसमें
based long,
narrative है.
इसमें narrative है, and yeah, and the big thing about this game is that it is quite difficult. And Varun actually quite really likes this game for a long time.
उसने खेला?
He had उसने खेला नहीं है, but he wanted to buy it. It's really expensive.
सच में?
कुछ 3-4 हजार में. If you look it up, it's the, by just the graphics you can tell that it is an expensive game.
Hmm. फिर इसमें guns है? It's a shooter?
Yes, it's a cooperative shooter.
Hmm.
And yeah, basically you have to coordinate and not survive, but जो भी objective होते हैं वो monsters को fight करते हुए वो करना होता है. And
Hmm.
the thing about GTFO is कि ये जो यूट्यूबर का इसका मैं गेम प्ले देख रहा था, he has been posting videos of like playing this game with his friends for months. कि वो एक स्टेज का एक वीडियो डालेगा and show the whole process of how they were able to clear it in It would take them like 1 or 2 months to clear a single stage of this game.
What?
And yes, एंड अभी जो लास्ट स्टेज था वो उस पूरे गेम की लास्ट स्टेज है वो उनने क्लियर करा और it took them a whole year, a whole full year to clear that last stage.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
Yes,
Why?
it is just that difficult, this game.
इसका मैं
There
टाइम
was
टू
this
बीट देख रहा हूँ तो उसमें 13.5 hours बता रहा है.
no, that's because there's a क्या बोलेंगे एक normal base game and that there's this whole expansion sort of which is based on difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
इसमें ऐसे मैं कोई एस्टिमेट देखा था कि ये गेम को कुछ कितने 60,000 समथिंग पीपल ने खरीदा बट उसके लास्ट ईयर सिर्फ 200-300 लोगों ने क्लियर करा है आउट ऑफ द इन टोटल पूरे वर्ल्ड में सिर्फ 200-300 लोगों क्लियर कर पाए उसके लास्ट स्टेज गेम की.
मेरे
चीटोस.
सर से बड़ा चीटोस का पैकेट है ये.
Looking at that, wouldn't it be quite unhealthy to eat that much Cheetos?
तो मुझे बताएगा हेल्दी. I mean, yeah, इतना मैं of course साथ में नहीं खा रहा हूँ. I just keep it on the side कभी कभी.
Does it not go bad, like it's soggy?
अभी तक तो नहीं गया.
Because from what I remember, कुरकुरे को ऐसे खुला पैकेट रख दो तो कुछ घंटों में सॉगी सा हो जाता है कड़क कड़क सा.
I don't know, मैं रैप करके रखता हूँ अच्छे से. Anyway, though, there are a bunch of uh I've seen that a lot of Indians here are some muscular, like they work out regularly, but a lot of Indians are they work out regularly, so they have like they're muscular, they have big arms. But another thing that stands out is that they're all sort of fat. तोंद निकली रहती है नीचे. No, I'm mostly actually talking about uh, people who work out versus population की बात कर रहा हूँ. I'm not even like singling out Indians, trying to single out Indians इसमें. Okay, yeah, no, that's what I've noticed. Okay, like they don't really pay much attention to their diet, workout. Anyway, time for discussing our recommendations. I guess I will go first this case, my Tremors. Uh, what like uh you watched this as a child,
Yes.
huh?
Yes, yes.
Uh, I I mean it was an enjoyable movie. I honestly don't have much to say about it. It was like it unexpectedly sort of had it had a better flow than I was expecting, and there are these underground monsters, which is just pretty much uh, Jaws, but what if Texas?
Yeah. I remember, like, I used to, when I watched this movie, I used to think, if a monster like this appears here, what will I do? Like, you remember how we used to prepare for zombie apocalypse with mods
Yeah. Uh-huh.
in the similar fashion? I would, like, not only with Tremor, like, with every monster movie I would watch, I would try to imagine what I will do if it actually appears.
Like it's like also to be fair, it's a little unfair to compare it to Jaws. It does pay some homages to it. You can see its fingerprints in it. Magar, a lot of this film focuses on these people come coming up with strategies to not die
Uh,
and beat these monsters, which is, I guess that's fun. I mean, but I guess at no point that they do anything that seems too clever or unexpected that it would तुम्हारा दिमाग खुल जाए जैसे what L does in that first episode he appears that was so crazy. I mean, how do you how like, you're wondering how do you even try to look for Kira, single out this guy, और वो पहली ब्रॉडकास्ट में बोल देता है इस सिटी में है ये आदमी. I was,
Death Note was quite an amazing anime.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I think I undervalue it because it was our first anime.
And it's also like because there's also this thing that it's popular. You don't want to talk too much about something that's too popular because of course like everybody loves it. There's no point in talking about it. You would tend to talk more about things that might uh, uh, un- give a better understanding of who you are as opposed to like when you because that's what one of the things you're trying to do, right? You're trying to identify yourself when you're talking about a piece of media. You're trying to let people know what kind of person you are.
And I do actually, after all, watching all these anime, I actually don't think any anime actually is similar to Death Note, like as clever as Death Note, which is
uh,
surprising.
what do you mean? As
When I
what?
watched, and when I watched Death Note, like, I would think that, okay, this is so amazing. There must be so many other like this I would like to watch. But I I think like if जितने भी anime they can, none of them come close to being as good as Death Note was
As
made.
like nothing feels like Death Note because uh, that's the ultimate detective show that makes you feel like okay, that was clever, and it does that repeatedly.
Yes,
That's one of
like there
those
is.
most difficult feelings to write for, huh?
Can you even think of one anime which like even remotely does that? Because this one outs, but it was like very different
I
and
mean,
like
like
not even that clever. I
one
would not
outs
say
is
it,
more similar to Kakegurui. They're just random bullshit go. It's
yes,
more meant for fun.
it yes, it's not clever and like it's a code Geass bhi hai. It being clever, it was a small part of it, but it was remotely not even remotely about that. It was more about the whole story and the action going on.
I actually don't remember Code Geass enough to uh, talk much about it in that aspect. Just remember that uh, trying to be the hipster I was back then, kept kept saying that I liked Code Geass more than Death Note.
Yeah. And Tokyo Ghoul, remember Tokyo Ghoul? We really liked Tokyo Ghoul. It was one of our
You
first.
liked it,
You did
yeah?
not like Tokyo Ghoul,
No, I did not.
really?
No, I never liked it.
Huh.
You मुझे I w- I was तूने मुझे देखने को बोला था I remember and I watched it and I was like ये मुझे वेजिटेरियन प्रोपेगेंडा दिखा रहा है.
You remember his intro, outro? They were quite catchy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like them. I like those. You never really followed up on that, right? Like उसके कुछ नए seasons भी आए थे. You never watched those, right?
I never completed Tokyo Ghoul. Like, it's not just me, जो पूरी community है, they all agree कि वो anime fell off as the seasons progressed. It might be a budget issue, but उसका एक animation बहुत ही बुरा है. And even the story, it gets really rushed और
You read
पूरा
the
जितना.
manga though, right?
Yes, I read the manga and उसको skip over कर देते हैं जो भी चीजें थी. So the anime just falls off after few seasons.
Mm. Uh,
Even manga भी मैं finish नहीं कर रहा है. Manga में I got uninterested.
what did you like about that show?
It was just cool. Like there's not particularly
I mean,
something
yeah,
which.
uska aesthetic was pretty cool. That whole eye patch thing.
Yes,
Uh,
I'm one
mm.
of those people who do like action. So like
You
that
like
was.
action?
Yes, I used to like action in
Uh,
the media I watched. I don't watch action stuff now.
mm.
Hmm.
Mhm. Okay, okay.
And I guess it was edgy. As an edgy teenager, I would like edgy stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It was very gothic.
Hmm.
Uh, Getting back to Tremors though. It seems that like lot of films like there were a lot of films like this back then. Like sort of I wouldn't say that this was particularly low budget. This didn't feel low budget. It's उसमें इतने सारे monsters थे and destruction भी था काफी. But there were a lot of uh, low budget monster films from the 90s जो हमने बचपन में काफी देखी एनाकोंडा वगैरह. uh, and I guess this belonged to that category for you when you were growing up too, right? Mm. uh, one of the things I did was like I just searched Tremors on my podcast app after watching the film. I was thinking that I would like just see an episode of people, some random podcast talking about Tremors or something. Uh, मगर मैं देखता हूँ there's an entire podcast about Tremors. It's called Talking
Dedicated
Tremors.
to. Ah,
And मैं वो खोल के देखा, वो 2022 में शुरू हुई थी और अभी तक चल रही है. अब उसका चार
really?
पाँच ईच एपिसोड इस 4-5 घंटे का.
What do they talk about? I'm
आई थिंक
now
उसके 80
genuinely
के ऊपर
curious.
एपिसोड्स है.
किसके ऊपर?
80 के ऊपर.
What? How do you? What do you talk about?
ऑनेस्टली
You're
आई
like
हाँ हाँ.
you are having trouble find things to talk about. Tremors, right?
Yeah,
How how do you make
I
80 episodes?
I tried listening to that pod. It sort of seems to have a cult following, to be fair. Okay, uh, I mean, and there are a lot of. Also a franchise. Iske, it has a lot of less successful sequels. Uh,
Tremors की
हाँ, they're not that successful. मगर uh, this was a really weird podcast. मैंने उसके दो तीन एपिसोड सुनने की कोशिश करे. This guy is just talking to himself.
how many
Like
people are there in the podcast?
one guy.
One guy. How,
Yeah.
how do you what?
It was such a weird podcast. मुझे
They have a
समझ में
podcast with
आज
what?
मुझे आधे टाइम मुझे समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा था ये आदमी क्या बोल रहा है और रैंडमली कभी भी ट्रेमर्स के डायलॉग्स बोलने लग जाता था पूरे कॉन्वर्सेशंस एक्सचेंजेस 5 मिनट तक इट वाज सो सरियल वियर्ड मैंने एक रिलेटिवली रीसेंट एपिसोड चल सुनने का डिसाइड किया या इट सीम्ड कि उसमें किसी को बुलाया है उसने कोई गेस्ट को आई थॉट दिस वुड फील मोर सेन better to be able I'll easier to make sense of because जो अभी तक मैं सुन रहा था that was really annoying and I could not really understand what the hell he was talking about. He introduces a few people शुरू के podcast के शुरू में bunch of people and then just goes off on his own and I gradually realize that there's nobody in the podcast with him. This is another one of
Wait,
his bits.
who did he introduce then?
I have no idea. I didn't care to find out. Maybe he was trying to talk to some pseudo characters from the movies or something like that. I don't
Do,
know.
do, does does it have listeners? Does this podcast get listeners?
I like मैं वैसे तो Spotify पे नहीं सुनता हूँ podcast अपने but for to find out this exact thing I did go to Spotify क्योंकि that's the most popular podcasting app. जिस पे मैं सुनता हूँ उस पे तो कोई भी लिसनर नहीं दिख मतलब कोई भी रेटिंग वगैरह कुछ नहीं दिख रही थी uh, मगर he did seem to have some listeners on Spotify.
But how many are we talking?
Wait, I'm looking. Uh, oh, no ratings है इसकी Spotify. I guess uh, probably not. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Could just be
it
his
might be
not or
his
just
own.
friends.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But how do
Hmm.
you record 80 episodes by just talking to yourself?
पिछला एपिसोड इसका आया था वेंसडे को 4.5 घंटे का
Oh,
टाइटल व्हाट्स द प्रॉब्लम विद ट्रेमर्स 3 the 12th February which is not that long ago काफी frequently रिलीज करता है ये इस एपिसोड का टाइटल है Can you quote the entirety of Tremors from memory?
oh he might be the biggest Tremors fan on this planet.
Yes, it's crazy. Look at this.
Oh,
I mean, it's like uh, good for him, I guess. Oh, it was really bizarre. Anyway,
I wonder if
huh,
there's more podcasts like this.
I'm pretty sure there are. Like, because there are a lot of podcasts with no listeners. I think that a lot of people just do it for fun, like you and I do. It just for fun or just for our friends. Yeah, which I feel that is a I nice thing. It's an all right idea. I like it. Uh, anyway, let's move on to what I recommended to you.
Yeah. So you asked me to cook 5 things.
Can you
I
fix your
was able to
mic a
cook.
little? हाँ,
Is it better now?
थोड़ा सा हाँ चल.
So you asked me to cook 5 things. I was able to cook 4 things because past few days my mom shivered my hand and I came back
Okay,
with.
okay,
So I will start sharing photos, I guess. I
okay.
gave you a teaser
Teasing.
one
हाँ,
day.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I actually don't
What do you
remember what the picture was of. सूप बना रहा था.
close enough?
मैगी सूप. When did like you didn't cook anything for the first 2 weeks, right?
Basically binge कर दिया मैं सारा cooking as you predicted.
Hmm.
So what I made, the first thing I made were momos.
Momos. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Huh.
And what you saw in that picture was जो उसमें चटनी लाल चटनी होती वो बना रहा था उसमें.
Oh. You have a picture of those momos?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out how to share it. I have it in WhatsApp. I guess WhatsApp पे share
WhatsApp पे
कर दूँ.
भेज दे. Hmm. How was the process? Oh damn, that
Okay, it
looks
was,
quite nice, I would say.
yes, it was more hard work, involving hard work than I initially thought it would require
Yeah, that does
because
sound like a little like complex. थोड़ा. हाँ.
I was not planning on making वो लाल चटनी. बट
Mm-hmm.
मम्मी बोले कि देखो यहाँ का शेजवान वगैरह खाने से अच्छा है कि ऐसी बन जाएगी चटनी तो बना लो साथ में बना ही रहे हो तो मैंने कहा ठीक है.
Mm-hmm.
मेयोनीज तो वही मार्केट वाली है. And ठीक है वो चटनी एक्चुअली इसमें इतना एफर्ट नहीं लगा
Mm-hmm.
बिकॉज उसमें सिर्फ वही कुक करके मिक्सी में मिक्स कर देना था. मोमोज के लिए आई हैड टू गेट वेजिटेबल्स जिसमें जो पत्ता गोभी एंड अदर वेजिटेबल्स लगते हैं एंड आई हैड टू ग्रेट देम इन अ ग्रेटर.
How did
एंड
you learn the recipe? शुरू में, how did you decide what to do?
मैं जितनी चीजें बनाया हूँ वो सब यूट्यूब से देखा हूँ मैं.
Okay.
तो वो यूट्यूब पे देखा एंड वो वीडियो में वो लेडी बोलती कि हाँ अब हम पत्ता गोभी लेंगे उसको हम ग्राइंड कर देंगे एंड वंस यू आर डन ग्राइंडिंग हम
Hmm.
उसको यहाँ पे डालेंगे तो उसके अंदर मतलब बहुत इजीली वो वीडियो में ऐसा लगता है कि हाँ वो 1 सेकंड के अंदर उससे ग्राइंड कर दिया वो लेडी ने वेजीज. इट वोंट बी अ बिग डील लाइक when even when you are chopping vegetables it's not a big deal, right?
It's not.
जनरली इतना बड़ा इशू नहीं होता है just
O-
chop it.
Okay.
But turns out grating is quite exhausting.
अच्छा,
Like,
अभी तू grinding नहीं कह रहा था? I thought you talked about grinding. Grate करा
not
तूने?
grind, grate,
हाँ.
yes. मैं ग्रेट करे जा रहा हूँ थोड़ा थोड़ा निकल रहा है. आई हैड टू ग्रेट अ होल फुल कैबेज बिकॉज प्लान ये था कि अच्छा सारा बनाएंगे ताकि पूरे मेरे घर के और फिर मेरे मामा के यहाँ पे सब खा पाए मोमोज. दैट वाज द प्लान. सो आई हैड टू ग्रेट अ लॉट ऑफ वेजिटेबल्स. पहले पत्ता गोभी, देन गाजर. I grate half of the cabbage and then I gave up. मैंने कहा कि बाकी कैबेज है इसको मैं मिक्सी में ग्राइंड कर दूंगा छोटे छोटे पीसेस करके. आई डोंट वांट टू ग्रेट इट एनी
हाँ.
मोर. मेरा पूरे हाथ दुखने लग गए थे
हाँ.
एंड टू माई सरप्राइज जो मैं मिक्सर में उसको ग्राइंड करा, इट हैड अ बेटर टेक्सचर देन द वंस आई ग्रेटेड.
सच में? That's a surprise.
हाँ, मैं नहीं एक्सपेक्ट करा था वैसा होना. सो आई वाज
भाई ऐसी
रिग्रेटिंग कि
मेहनत
हाँ
तो
मैं
मैंने भी
पहली बार.
की है। हाँ बोल बोल।
वही तो मैं वो सोचा था कि इतना पहला ग्रेट करने से अच्छा वही से मैं मिक्सर में पहले एक बार ट्राई कर लेता कि कैसा टेक्सचर आ रहा है.
हम्म।
पर ठीक है, अब तो हो चुका है. नेक्स्ट पार्ट था, पहले एक्चुअली मैं वो देख रहा था, चावल के आटे का देख रहा था, बिकॉज मैदा घर पे खाते नहीं जाता. बट एज इट टर्न आउट कि चावल का आटे का उतना अच्छा बनता नहीं है, टूटने लग जाता है वो. तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, मैंने भी बना लेते हैं. पहले मैदे को गुथो, एंड उसका इन द वीडियो वो बहुत स्पेसिफिक स्टाइल से गुथना होता है. लाइक आटे को तो हम गुथ देते हैं फटाफट,
हम्म।
इट्स नॉट अ बिग डील. बट वो
हम्म।
मैदे को ऐसा था कि इनको एकदम हार्ड गुथना है. इट शुड नॉट बी सॉफ्ट, एंड इट वॉज मोर डिफिकल्ट, मच मोर डिफिकल्ट देन आटे को गुथना, बिकॉज आई हैड उसको उस डो को स्पेशल तरीके से प्रिपेयर करना था. वो गुथा मैंने, आई गेस, मैदे को. एंड अब मेरे को लगा कि ठीक है, पूरा प्रिपरेशन हो चुकी है, मैदा प्रिपेयर हो गया, उसका जो वो था ग्रेट कर लिया उसको, फिर ग्रेट करके और भी कुछ करना था उसको, निचोड़ना था उसको पानी और कुछ कुछ डालना था उसमें, मसाले वगैरह एग्जैक्टली वो सब करना था.
हम्म।
एंड इट टर्न आउट कि दिस वाज ऑल नॉट द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट पार्ट, इट वाज जस्ट द बिगिनिंग. वो मोमोज बनाने के लिए हमें पहले बेलना पड़ता है, वो मैदे की छोटी छोटी गोली बना के, एंड
हम्म।
उसका वो प्लेट में फिर उसको डालना, फिर मोमोज को वो बंद करना. इट इज क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट टू डू. आई डिड नॉट एक्सपेक्ट, बोला कि हाँ वो बनाऊंगा, गोल सा बेलूंगा, उसमें थोड़ी सब्जी डालूंगा, बंद कर दूंगा, हो
हम्म।
जाएगा. बट नहीं, वो यू हैव टू बी रियली केयरफुल विद दैट कि वो ज्यादा मोटा ना हो, ज्यादा पतला हो तो फट जाएगा. सो इट हैव टू बी परफेक्ट. और वो मैदे को बेलना भी काफी डिफिकल्ट.
I
सम,
imagine हाँ, बेलना या उसे रैप करना।
हाँ, बेलना. यू
बेलना।
वुड थिंक वो इजी होगा कि वो ऐसे ही बस लो उसके उसको और बेल दो, बट इट डज नॉट वर्क लाइक दैट. वो आटा जैसे इजीली हो जाता है वैसे नहीं होता, बिकॉज वो मैदा काफी चिपकता है, तो वो बेलन के साथ और सब चीजें चिपकेगा वो,
हम्म।
और सही से नहीं. आई मीन यू हैव टू एकदम पतला बेलना होता है उसको, वो मोटा है तो फिर अच्छा नहीं लगेगा.
राइट।
तो इट इज क्वाइट कम्बरसम.
हाँ
बट
आई गेट।
फाइनली मैंने बेल लिया और भर के ऐसे एक, आई सेंट यू फोटो.
हाँ वो अभी भेजा क्या एक बार?
हाँ,
हाँ। ओहो।
स्टीमर टाइप का प्रिपेयर कर, उसमें रख रख के स्टीम कर रहा हूँ उनको.
ये तेरा मेकशिफ्ट स्टीमर है?
हाँ, वही गंजी के
नाइस।
ऊपर ऐसे जाली वाले बना के उसकी.
आई लव इट।
ये
हाँ नाइस नाइस। हाउ वाज इट?
I did not like it. That's the thing. When I ate it, the first bite, I was so underwhelmed. And I think उसका एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर था कि मैं I was exhausted, क्योंकि हम करीब 3 घंटे से बना रहे थे वो पूरा मोमोज. And
या यू।
that was the first thing.
हाँ हाँ।
Second thing was कि it did not smell like जैसे बाहर के स्ट्रीट में मोमोज की स्मेल होती है. They might add some thing to make it smell good, बट इसकी काफी पंजेंट सी स्मेल थी, मतलब वो मैदा पे स्टीम होने की. इट डिड नॉट स्मेल गुड. एंड आई थिंक वो स्मेल एक मेजर फैक्टर होता है उसको खाने को एंटाइसिंग बनाने के लिए.
या यू Choose, I would say, quite a complicated dish to make as your first dish. I'm surprised, but still commendable. Hmm.
तो जिस दिन मैं बनाया था उस दिन तो मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लगा। द नेक्स्ट डे बचे हुए थे मोमोज, मतलब रॉ मोमोज बचे हुए थे जिनको मैं स्टीम नहीं करा था, बस उसको प्रिपेयर करके रख दिया था टू मेक स्टीम दम द नेक्स्ट डे। वो उस दिन स्टीम करके खाया एंड आई रियली लाइक दोस। आई गेस वो फर्स्ट डे बस इसका अच्छा नहीं लगा, आई वाज एग्जॉस्टेड।
That's possible, I guess. Because even like, I don't know if it's the same feeling. But when I'm serving something in the mess here, uh, they, regardless of how uh, tasty it looks in the beginning, मैं घंटों तक सर्व करता रहता हूँ, 3 साढ़े 3 घंटे तक उसे। आई मेरी वो टेस्ट करने की इच्छा मर जाती है, इतनी देर तक मैं स्मेल करता रहता हूँ उसे उसके।
Yeah, so the next day I was quite satisfied with it. I don't think I will ever make it again though. It just does not feel worth the effort.
Yes, fair enough.
Maybe we say at some point, but not anytime soon.
I like
But
fried
that is
momos.
no, these are steamed momos.
नहीं नहीं, हाँ,
Oh, you're
but
saying you like?
I think I've had them once. They were quite unexpectedly nice. They were.
I had the same experience. I still think I prefer steamed momos, but I tried them once and they were good.
Yeah, बोल बोल आगे बोल.
So the next dish I cooked, uh, I cooked two dishes at once this time,
Oh,
and these two dishes are one of my favorite dishes. I like to eat when I'm outside. As you can guess, is
fried
chili
rice.
paneer and fried rice.
Okay,
Yes.
nice.
इसके लिए काफी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हुआ था मेरा मेरी मम्मी के साथ, क्योंकि मेरी मम्मी डज कुक चिली पनीर एंड फ्राइड राइस,
Hmm.
बट आई वांटेड टू मेक अपने खुद के स्टाइल में।
I
एंड
remember you saying कि तुझे घर का अच्छा नहीं लगता Chinese.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. So I was actively trying to avoid taking advice from her. Like I was still listening what she was suggesting, but I was actively trying to like खुद समझ में आना उसका क्या डायनामिक चल रहा है और क्या मतलब क्या हो रहा है, खुद यूट्यूब में भी देखा। एंड द वीडियो आई वाज वाचिंग यूट्यूब में, मेरी मम्मी को बोला नहीं इनका तो बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं रहता, कुछ अच्छा नहीं बनाता, ये कुछ तो ही बता रहे हैं, ऐसा तो होता ही नहीं है। बिकॉज जनरली बहुत सोया सॉस वगैरह और विनेगर वगैरह डालते हैं राइट, एंड मेरी मम्मी को नहीं पसंद वो सब चीजें। सो
I mean, I mean, on a side note, I don't think you would have used it because उसका काफी इंडिया में बहुत like because of the whole anti-China thing. They I at least I think that it comes from that problematic line of thoughts. That there's this thing against MSG. You know what MSG is?
यस, तू बताया था जब मैं तेरे यहाँ भी था तब भी।
Yeah, like uh, Indian parents, like because of how the whole WhatsApp kind of thing, वो सब उसकी वजह से they think that MSG बहुत बुरा होता है health के लिए, and like it's a horrible thing to eat, but it's pretty much like health wise almost no different from salt. It's pretty much like salt.
आई डिड नॉट हैव एमएसजी टू यूज हियर।
No, हाँ मुझे पता है you would have not used it, I was इसलिए mention करा था, and I realized when I was using it that did like improve dishes by quite a lot. It's Chinese. Anyway, go on.
तो मैं यूट्यूब में देखा वीडियोस जो मेरी मम्मी के उसमें नहीं था, उनको सही नहीं लगा, बट उन्होंने कहा ठीक है तुम्हें कैसा बनाना बना, एंड आई फॉलोड ये वो ट्यूटोरियल यूट्यूब का. एंड अनलाइक मोमोज, it was unexpectedly quite easy to make both chili paneer and fried rice. Like it took less effort than cooking a normal sabji roti chawal, the
Yes,
normal dish with us.
Chinese में घर पे भी mostly तब बनाता था काफी frequently तब when I was feeling too lazy to cook. Making Chinese is relatively fried rice जैसी चीज़ is relatively simple. What I used to do was कोई भी घर पे सब्जी पुरानी पड़ी है या चिकन पड़ा है उसका I would just add that to the fried rice.
And I was quite proud of how it turned out. Like they were exactly as I expected
वो भेजा तूने?
them to.
Oh,
Yes,
that looks good. Oh,
it was
chili
good.
pay.
The
Nice.
only caveat I had with it was that I made both chili paneer and fried rice spicy,
Hmm.
and that did not go well because chili paneer भी बहुत spicy बनाया मैंने और फ्राइड राइस स्पाइसी था. तो दिस साथ में खाने में कुछ ज़्यादा ही ओवरलोड हो जा रहा था उसका. द
Hmm.
नेक्स्ट डे मैं वापस फ्राइड राइस बनाया, बट इस बार मैं माइल्ड फ्लेवर का माइल्ड स्पाइसी बनाया, एंड
Ah.
इट फेल्ट बेटर टू ईट विद द चिली पनीर.
Hmm. Both of them look quite nice. Let me ask you one question. Did you fry your paneer उसके लिए?
आई डिड मैरिनेटेड कि उसको पनीर को काट के उबाल के फिर उस पर वो कॉर्नफ्लोर लगा के फिर उसको फ्राई करके. आई डिड ऑल
You
दैट.
did that. क्योंकि मैं जब मैं when I started cooking शुरू में, and I understand where my mom comes from क्योंकि I mean हम हम लोग जब भी cooking करते हैं it's mostly a शौकिया thing and they मम्मियों को regularly cook करना पड़ता है. It's pretty much work to them. I get where they're coming from. We used to fight about whether I should uh, uh, fry the paneer or not. क्योंकि जब मम्मी चली पनीर कभी भी बनाती थी she would just पनीर ऐसे के ऐसे ग्रेवी में डाल देती थी and I wanted to follow the recipes properly जैसे वो बता रहे हैं and it adds this very like uh, मतलब adds this extra hassle of uh, frying the paneer which honestly makes the cooking chili paneer quite inconvenient, which otherwise is a pretty convenient dish to cook. But yeah, I still fry my paneer.
I think I would too. And unlike momos, I think I will make them again, both chili paneer and fried rice,
Ah,
whenever I feel like.
nice, nice.
So the fourth and last thing I made
Mm-hmm.
is I think I like the most, and also am the most proud of
Uh-huh.
among all four of them. So when I was brainstorming that what I should cook next, मेरी मम्मी बोली that she has an idea. तो जो मेरी लेट ग्रैंड मदर है उनका बर्थडे आ रहा था अभी कुछ दिन पहले, एंड शी सेड कि वो मेरी नानी की एक स्पेशल रेसिपी है केक की जो मेरी नानी
Oh,
बनाती थी, एंड शी पास्ड ऑन दैट रेसिपी टू माय मॉम. and she wants that recipe to be passed on to me so that this legacy of this secret cake recipe follows. And
Ah,
it does sound interesting. And it is something different from what I've cooked until now, right?
yeah.
I've never baked anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general, जैसे सब्जी वगैरह तो बनाया, but I've never made a dessert kind of thing. So I was like, fine, okay, I'll make a cake. उनके पास पूरा वो कागज पे लिखा हुआ था रेसिपी क्या होती है. इट वाज एक्चुअली लाइक क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग.
Interesting.
And I don't
What
know
do you
what
mean
to
by
say about
interesting?
the interesting in the sense कि you wouldn't expect कि उसके ingredients जो है वो केक में कन्वर्ट हो जाएंगे. लाइक दिस चिली पनीर फ्राइड राइस में यू सी इट हैपनिंग, राइट? कि हाँ, ये चावल है, इसको फ्राई करेंगे, फ्राइड राइस बन जाएगा. ये पनीर है, इसको ऐसा हो जाएगा. इन द केस ऑफ केक, व्हेन यू प्रिपेयर केक, यू जो तुम प्रिपेयर करो डज नॉट लुक लाइक केक. वो एक नॉर्मल पेस्ट जैसा दिखता है, एंड यू एक्सपेक्ट कि हाँ मैं बेक करूंगा इसको, एंड इट टर्न्स आउट टू समथिंग मच डिफरेंट.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you don't directly see it like happening. You
Okay.
prepare that dough kind of what I don't know what it's called, the bat, you know,
I I
cake
guess
ka
it's batter. Or batter.
batter. You prepare it and hope it turns out good after you take it out of oven. हमारे घर पे उनके पास एक वो है, मेरी नानी की है अपेरेंटली. एक वो है केक को स्पेसिफिकली बनाने के लिए, केस टाइप का जिसके अंदर वो रखते हैं बैटर को, एंड वी लीव इट फॉर फ्यू आवर्स, और उसके बाद केक बन के आ जाता है. तो वही रेसिपी फॉलो करके शक्कर, दूध,
Okay,
क्या क्या
secret
डाल,
ingredient क्या है?
वनीला एसेंस, आई डोंट इवन रिमेम्बर क्या क्या डालता है, दूध पाउडर, बहुत सारे इंग्रेडिएंट्स लगे थे
Mm-hmm.
उसमें. एंड इट टर्न आउट रियली गुड. लाइक ठीक है दिखने में, आई विल शेयर द फोटो, इतना स्पेशल नहीं दिखता, बट टेस्ट में इट वाज रियली रियली गुड. मैं आज भी खाया हुआ, अभी तक बचा हुआ था केक.
Oh, कब बनाया तूने?
4-5 दिन हो गए.
Mm.
आई शेयर द फोटो विथ यू.
कहाँ है? नहीं दिख रही.
ओ मैं मम्मी को वापस भेज दी थी.
अबे, हम्म, इसके ऊपर टूटी फ्रूटी है?
Yes, that is tutti frutti. And do you know where I got that from?
I mean, a दुकान है हो. What?
पा, पान की दुकान.
Oh,
वो जो पान में डालते हैं, वो वाला टूटी फ्रूटी लेके आया. बिकॉज और कोई जगह पे नहीं मिल रहा था ये.
you know, one of those sometimes you look at an and image of food. Sometimes you look at an image and those images feel so nostalgic. You can pretty much smell the image.
Hmm.
That's what I feel looking at. It looks quite good. But I don't know what you're talking about.
नहीं, आई वाज स्पीकिंग लाइक फॉर अ केक. जनरली केक का एक फैक्टर होता है कि वो उसमें पूरी आइसिंग वगैरह होती है एंड स्टफ, बट
Man, I honestly quite like cakes without icing.
मी टू एक्चुअली. ओ मैं तो पूरा ही भेज दिया क्या? अच्छा नहीं, वही
Oh wait, हाँ, उस कंटेनर से निकला हुआ तो और अमेजिंग लग रहा है.
थी.
Hmm.
इट वाज क्वाइट अमेजिंग. लाइक अनएक्सपेक्टेडली काफी अच्छा टेस्ट करा केक को. And even though I have made 4 dishes, I do plan to make another dish. I will not reveal what it is, but in the next podcast, perhaps I will
Oh,
talk about it. Yes.
interesting. Interesting. How would you say was your experience cooking all this? Like, before that, I guess, since we are on the topic of that recipes, I actually coincidentally, uh, अभी एक आध हफ्ते पहले I had a talk with my mom too. मतलब मम्मी को कॉल किया because I was feeling that same thing about recipes and legacies that your mom talked about. कि I feel that क्योंकि look, सारे हाउस होल्ड में सेम डिशेस बनती है, yes, and yet they are also unique. I mean, it's
Mm.
a lot of the times it's not even that one is better than the other. They are just unique. They're different. And I felt that like I should do something to preserve the recipes of my mother that I like. So I called my mom to उन्होंने बोला कि वो अपने रेसिपीज जो अच्छी बनाते हैं वो अब लाइक विच आई लाइक जैसे आई रियली लाइक उनके बैंगन का भरता विद दाल बाटी एंड like other stuff too, like stuff like that. I told her that I want her to write those recipes down, start writing them down, because I imagine that it's probably really difficult to write recipes क्योंकि they like काफी you make recipes अंदाजे से घर पे, right? You make food, you don't measure food, and recipe लिखते हुए you need to be mindful of that to like for it to be replicable. And I what I ultimately want to do is, you remember that website I bought?
Mm.
I want to add a section in that website जहाँ पे I uh, host these recipes,
Host, this is what you mean.
but they host these recipes from my mother, वो upload
What
करना
is
है मुझे उस पे.
like सिर्फ रेसिपी हुई जैसे like in a written form?
Like नहीं, like a proper website for it, like pretty much like hosting this. I want to make a section on that website, like hosting recipes that mean uh, something to me. Hmm. तो मैंने मम्मी से बोला to start writing those recipes down. Uh, anyway, how was your experience cooking?
It was quite well. पहले दिन तो मैं थोड़ा annoyed था जब मैं मोमोज बनाया था.
Hmm.
I just thought कि it is just too cumbersome.
I mean, that to be fair, as I said, that's very complicated and like not like if you think about it, that's the furthest from anything you know about cooking. क्योंकि कभी भी तूने कुछ भी कुक किया है, कुकिंग देखी है, you have sauteed stuff in a pan वगैरह. You never really cook anything by steaming it. That was your first time doing something like that. So yeah, I can imagine that it could be frustrating.
And another part was कि नॉर्मल खाना ऐसे बनाता है देन देयर यू डोंट रियली पुट मच एफर्ट इनटू इट. ये थोड़ा बहुत डाल सकते हो कि हाँ अच्छा बनना चाहिए, बट if you're cooking specially just for the pleasure of eating it, to not for lunch or dinner,
Hmm.
so there is certain aspect of enjoyment to it. when you eat it and serve it to others, especially,
Mm-hmm.
which I quite like. We'll do it again, is what I'm saying.
Good to know. Good to know. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess that's it for the recommendations, I guess. What left is
Huh?
another pair of recommendations.
I already thought, well, not thought, like, I already told you your recommendation
Yeah.
back when Samiksha suggested it. I was like, okay, this is too perfect to not suggest.
What?
Um,
I don't
you
remember.
will, you will remember as I tell you. You have to create 5 artworks. Yeah,
Ek
and
minute. Okay, I'll let you finish before contending.
and it doesn't need to be. क्या बोलेंगे some specific watercolor whatever you can choose your style which style you want to draw and it doesn't need to be on a canvas. I will let you be flexible with it, but at least all 5 of them must be different in some aspect like कोई abstract के ऊपर है या दूसरा कोई अलग टाइप का artwork अलग style का है and in that sense all 5 of them must explore some different type of
And
style.
I I would like to ask you a question. One of the basis of recommendations is supposed to be having someone else experience that they have not experienced before, but you yourself have had the pleasure of experiencing it.
I I have drawn like thick and I have not explored different types of artworks, but I have some experience in drawing. Right,
I mean,
I don't remember ever remember you like drawing with passion. Ever.
huh?
Like, you used to doodle, right? I know you used to doodle, but have you actually like sit down to create some artwork before?
I mean, I made बुरी बुरी जायमोन कुछ दिन पहले. You have something against your बुरी बुरी जायमोन Uddu?
नहीं.
I mean, I guess fair enough, but five seems like a lot. Can I do four?
Yeah, I guess. Listen, मैं इस बार भी cooking में I was able to finish 4. So like you can do whatever you are able to do comfortably. ऐसा कोई strict restriction नहीं कि 5 ही करना है देखो.
Yeah. I yeah, I do four.
मेरा क्या recommendation है?
तेरी भारी recommendation की. So Uddu, I heard you like monster films.
I do like monster.
I will recommend you three Godzilla films.
Oh,
One
बताओ.
is the original Godzilla from 1954. आज तक तूने गॉडजिला की कोई भी जापानीज फिल्म नहीं देखी ना?
नहीं सारी अमेरिकन देखी है.
Yes, I'll make you explore the roots of Godzilla. Uh, the original Godzilla from 1954. Then the more recent Shin Godzilla from 2016. This is made by, I think, one of my favorite filmmakers, Hideaki Anno, the same guy who made Evangelion. uh, And this is sort of more like a modern retelling of the 1954 Godzilla. And then there's the latest Godzilla minus one from 2023.
I I wanted to watch these movies, but never really got the chance, I guess.
Yeah. Hmm. So I and I don't know if you would like the or connect in any way with the first Godzilla 1954. I like because I personally don't. I do like the newer Godzilla films. If you have that kind of doubt in your mind, if like you would enjoy the 1954 Godzilla or not, if you have that sort of doubt, what I would recommend doing is watch Shin Godzilla first, the 2016 film, and watch Godzilla minus one, and then watch the 1954 Godzilla in the end. That's something you can do if you want to.
I'll see. I'm not sure what order I want to watch.
Yeah, I mean they are, and they are not connected with each other in any way. The 2023 film completely do its own thing. Uh, for um to give you an idea, like Godzilla, uh, I don't know if you know that Godzilla as a uh, franchise has like a history of being political. Were you aware of that? Like, uh, when the first Godzilla film came, uh, Godzilla was supposed to be a stand-in, sort of a metaphor for nuclear weapons.
Oh, you did tell me that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you might want to know that before getting into them. Yeah, but that's your recommendation.
I would like to
Okay.
on that. Looks it up on my list.
Yeah.
Very nice. Oh,
Bye.